Here. Palmer,
Here.
Councilman Cassoff,
Here.
Councilman Robinette,
Here.
Councilman Lipton, here, Councilman Williams,
Here.
Mayor Jones. Here. Can you hear us, Councilman Williams?
It's a little better. If it can turn up a little bit, that would be excellent, but if not, it's okay.
We can't hear him though.
There's no
Yeah.
front speaker. There's only that speaker in the
A
back. of us.
quorum is present. At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to our city manager, John Hampton.
Mayor and council, it's a pleasure being here tonight. All of us are very happy to be here and present a budget to you that we believe and have confidence in. I will start off with John Hughes. We will be going over tonight CIP, city council, clerk, city manager, citywide HR, IT, and finance tonight. But we will start off with John Hughes and we'll take it from there. And Dave is taking the official notes as well for the master. So when we have to update it before it comes to council for review and passage, Dave will have the master that will recirculate.
Thank you.
John.
Council and everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. So I'm going to start off on page 1. City of Ferguson annual operating forecast and budget. Combined statements of fund balance and revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance. So we've got a column for each of the funds and then a total off to the right. Top. We're starting with the forecast for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024. Got your revenues across the top there. And then there are some splits for the separate expenditures. Got your total expenditures and the excess of revenues over expenditures. Unless it's a negative number, then that's expenses excess of revenues. Down below that, you've got your change in the fund balance. And then you've got the fund balance for each fund at the beginning of the year. And when you add the change in fund balance to the beginning of the year balance, you've got your end of the year balance for the funds, each of the funds.
Excuse me, John, can you speak up a little bit more, please?
And so you've got the ending fund balance for each fund as of 6/30/24. Then below that, you've got the budget, which has basically the same breakdown for the following year ended 6/30/25, and that is the budget that we're presenting. The next page is the combined statement of revenues and expenditures and fund balance for all funds. You've got columns for 2023 actual, forecasted, the differences in amount and percent, then the 2025 budget, and the differences in amount and percent between 25 and 24. You've got your breakdown of all the revenues for each fund or for each year. Then you've got the breakdown of the expenses, total expenses, and then again, you've got the change in fund balances and the beginning of the year and end of the year fund balances. On page 3. You've got the statements of revenue, expenditures, and fund balance for the general fund. Again, we got 23 actual, 24 forecast, and 25 budgeted. There's your revenues. The total revenues, breakdown of expenditures, total expenditures. There's your excess or deficiency. There are no deficiencies. Your change in fund balance, and then you've got your fund balance at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. Page 4, you've got the Revenue detail by source for the general fund. Here again, you've got 22, 23, 24, and 25. And so it's basically just break down 3 pages of the separate types of revenues. And a subtotal for each. And then at the bottom of page 6, got your total revenues for each of those. Then on page 7, you've got your expenditures by type and department for the general fund. So it's over on the left, you'll see the number 10 for council and clerk. That's the department 10, it's council and clerk. And then each department has its department number there. Has each of the years. Personnel at the top, supplies and services at the bottom, and then total expenditures down at the very bottom. Any questions?
Yep.
Going back to page. Okay. On the page 4, the dog license, is that $13, $17?
Where's it at? What?
On page 4, the
Yeah.
dog licenses, is that all they were?
Yeah, and that's something that we are gonna start enforcing more code on, but I can't I don't wanna put a
Okay.
fictitious number in. That's something that we have been kicking around for quite a while now, especially with all the dogs.
Exactly.
But I did not wanna put a dollar figure there because it's not yet being enforced yet. We have rebuilt our code enforcement, we have problems with other persons, that will also help that license.
It used to be, when I first moved here, that if you had a dog, when you got your occupant's permit, you had to register your dog in order to get a license.
Yeah, I know Rachel was supposed to be looking up the ordinances that we have on the book. Like I said, it's still, like, we're still working through a lot. The city has
Okay.
been through a lot, and we're just starting to do back up on it. And this is one of the things that we'll be able to.
Good.
No.
Linda, okay. You have another question? Okay.
Just,
Yep.
just, okay, on page 7, where it's human resources, and citywide, is that information, is that what you gave?
For personnel,
Um,
for personnel costs.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll get to that on that
Okay.
page for HR, because the numbers in on the B2, what has happened, Dave, you want to explain this?
Yes, there's actually a couple clerical errors that are software is causing. One of them being the salary line, to see if the on that page did not autofill. And it has to go to the fund balance on one of the other sheets to carry over correct to the bottom. Fiscal year, the following year. So I actually reached out to Quest a couple days ago to run for our IT department right now. They've escalated to this point. So hoping to have it sorted out.
and what,
This is not affecting our fund balance at all.
Fund balance and that stuff, we're actually probably higher.
I got you.
and citywide as well, or is that the same?
Citywide, there's
Okay.
not, there's no personnel citywide.
Yeah, there's no personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
Councilwoman Robinette, Councilwoman Lipka, then Councilman Hassoff.
I'm right, I'm up right. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to point out before we get too far into this, just so everybody's on the same page, on page 3. If you look at revenues for the city, like this is based on 2024 forecast and 25 budget. Revenues are projected to be down 14%. And our expenditures are up 14%, so that's not a very good trade-off. So that means that they should be around equal, and
She's up
Page
3, total revenues and total expenditures.
For 2020.
Expenditures are going up, as we would imagine, but our revenues are going down. So we can't even keep up with like, it's a substantial amount.
On some of this, like marijuana tax, we don't we just are now starting to cut as well.
Okay.
And then also just actually have another year, like a full year, of, you know, with those numbers, so it may be a little bit higher as well, maybe everything else.
Yeah, our revenue forecast is flat, we're gonna forecast. Some correct, we don't want that. Forecast 5.
Okay.
Your turn.
All right, so this is gonna probably sound like a really stupid question to everybody sitting here, because a lot of you have a lot more experience than I do. But I wanna have some explanation for the numbers in red on page 2. Just give me a quick rundown of why we show everything looks good on the following pages, but here we get to a change in fund balance of $6 million, 121% down. Why is it showing this here, but everything else is looking hunky-dory everywhere else when it isn't, obviously? So can someone explain that to me?
Dave, you wanna touch this one first?
The main reason your fund balance is negative on this page, on page 2, is combining all of your funds, combining general with parks. If you recall, in capital and parks, we budgeted $2.5 million county offset revenue grants to 501 projects. This page is showing basically you're depleting all parks reserves to pay for that project. So that's why it's $1,055,000 in the negative. When realistically, we won't do the project, we don't. That's why it's.
So,
Million?
so this basically reflects what it would look like if we wiped everything out to do a project. But we are not going to do that, and we have already gotten the authorization that we have a grant coming forward. So this is a misleading number at this point.
But until we get the actual grant.
But I guess
We don't wanna put something out there if we don't have it.
well, and I understand what you're saying, but I would also say from a general perspective of average citizen, why would we even include it in the budget? Why would this be a project that we would include when we don't have the money? And we're projecting from this page that we're wiping out the account when we know we're not gonna do the project until we have the money. So shouldn't the project not be in the budget at all until the money's there?
No.
Historically, we have worked the projects in a placeholder in capital to have a line.
Okay,
Right, so you don't have to go back to get an amendment to the budget.
okay. And then going to page 7,
If you guys remember, one of the biggest things was. we were
Placeholders
bringing
are fine.
amendments to you guys all the time. And there was a thing where we only wanted to bring it twice a year.
Twice a year.
That's
Mhm.
so, and I appreciate that answer, because basically the reason it's there, even though we're playing these number games, is because it's a placeholder. Okay. And I am tired today, so I'm gonna ask questions that don't make sense. All right, page 7. There's like big jumps from forecast to budget. In police, you jumped 2 million. In code enforcement, we jumped 100 and something thousand, a little less than 100,000. That's not a big one. But the 2 million, and then you jumped planning and development quite a bit. You doubled that one. Code enforcement went way down. So that one, I want to know why that go down. Code enfor- yeah.
I guess some of this we'll have to get to when we get to the B2s.
Okay.
I can explain it.
Well, and then fire doubled, services and other facilities doubled. And then municipal garage dropped drastically. So I'm just like, I mean, we can go through it with the B2s, but these are the ones that jump out at me that I'm like, this looks,
Police salary line jump, that's the budget.
100% at 56 officers? 60?
Yeah, I think they're number 60.
Because the highest we've ever been, even before Michael Brown, was 55.
But you have to also remember, there are some, things with the DOJ that we have. Yeah, so some expenses we did not have previously. before Mike Brown.
So as far as these jumps though, these are my concerns. I'm sure we're gonna get into more detail with the B2, so if you wanna just move along, that's fine with me. I just wanted to bring them up now because this is the page we're looking at, so. I'm done there.
Okay. Councilman Cassoff.
I just have one quick question. Huge increase in sales tax in 2024. Was that because we joined the pool or did something else happen?
So we've been in the pool for
Yeah.
what, 5 years, 6 years?
Oh, okay. So on page 5, sales tax 2023 actual 3.7 million, 2024 forecast 10.5 million. That's a huge jump in 1 year.
So point blank, sales tax is based off of the money. We're actually seeing it based on that. We're looking at 22 point.
Prop P is a
Prop
separate
P.
line.
The use tax.
Is that the use tax for the
Use
Amazon?
tax. Yeah, that's,
The Amazon use tax?
and then the power tax is there. Yeah.
So we added it here, but we didn't add it on the other page. Did you just say that we weren't really forecasting the marijuana tax because we're just starting to collect
We
it?
are, but we don't have.
Because we don't have
We look at all
historical
other
data.
cities with the municipal and city governments. We have a basically everybody that has. That's how.
So that you used the theory of what other people are doing because we don't have our own historical data, correct? Yeah, at this point.
And I think we're actually lower than. We'll probably.
I was just gonna say, I hope we're coming in at a low estimate versus a high estimate. Okay.
Right. Councilman Palmer.
Can you describe for me the 470% increase in building permit fees from budget 24 to forecast? 6. Code 61150. 61150 building permits. Performance Food Group. Thank you.
Does the college
For two buildings
Okay.
in a Phinia.
We were just forecasting what you're gonna do next year.
I would imagine the Performance Food Group project building permit is at least $150,000.
Might be.
It's a percentage, it's like $1 per thousand, but if it's $100 million project, whatever they're proposing makes sense. It's a significant number. I know in the past we had large numbers occasionally when Emerson would do something that was on the Ferguson side of their campus. But that's all my question was on that.
Anyone else?
I'm looking at the book from last year, and I know this isn't last year, but just because it looks like we identified it's the sales tax, economic development sales tax, well, sales tax Prop P.
What page are you
I'm
on?
on page 5. I'm on page 5 this year. No, this year, but page 2 of 4 of last year. And it has the sales tax, Prop P, economic development sales tax, and sales tax, fire protection sales tax, park storm, and incremental sales tax. But this year, we didn't separate it all. Is it combined or what's not showing like last year? Does that make sense? how those are all individually.
List those once again that was in last year's.
Okay. It's the sales tax Prop P,
Right, that's. it.
economic development.
That's on the next page.
It is on the next, well, I overlooked it. Where on the next page?
EDST is not general.
It's a separate,
Yeah.
right, but this is the general, okay. Well, just only, like I said, I was comparing last year
Well,
and how the information is.
Put that
I
book
think that's
down.
what we tried to do. We tried to more mimic 2021. Because in reality, that I think that was more of our better years.
Okay,
as
well, that's,
as just-
but I don't have EBST.
I forgot to bring my final,
T isn't in the general fund.
Okay, that's fine.
It's okay.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
my point to my previous statement about the building permits fee on page 6 was, unless you guys know of something large coming up, you may want to adjust the 2025 budget line because it's reflected as like a 1% increase over the forecast of this year. So if you guys have are privy to some sort of knowledge of $150 million in development happening in our town, we can keep that there, but just be careful. We might be over on that revenue calculation.
Florida Valley pulled all the permits for the first and second. And then we have, okay,
By the next meeting, I'll have. more
Okay.
information.
So, Mr. Palmer, because you know this much better, I'm asking an informational question to you. So the building permit, the 2025 budget actually is more reflective of the forecast versus the budget from 2024, 23, and 22. So if I understand, because I just want to understand, what they're saying is the second phase of those two projects haven't been pulled yet in a permit, so that that number could possibly be correct when that second phase is pulled. But what you're saying is, if it's a one-time thing, we need to reflect a number that is more conducive to 22, 23, and 24, because that has more of a logical pattern of behavior.
Staff needs to see if the full building permits have been paid for all projects that are currently pending. I've never known a project to not pay their full building permit fee once they apply. Usually it's a condition for approval to get the go-ahead that you've paid for your building permit fee. And these are multi-billion-dollar corporations, so I'd imagine they probably have complete plans with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, isometrics, structural calcs. They probably have everything already submitted. So I would imagine they probably already paid, but my suspicion is if you aren't sure, it was just an error of just assuming that this year's forecast was just moved forward. But it sounds like staff, Councilwoman Lipka, is going to look into it and see if there's still unpaid building permit fees for those projects.
I will have an answer, and on the 21st, we'll have an update.
Because that right there is a savings of about, what, 200,000?
It would be a cut.
Yeah, but
the first permits were about 200,000 for the first building.
So that makes sense, then it probably will go back down by that amount.
anyone else? Good try.
So the next portion will be, we want to start off with CIP, and Dave Musgrave is going to present. So this is going to be on page, which I just handed out to everyone, so it should move to page 402. in your binder. Yes, Becky.
Did you bring your magnifying glass?
That's something, that's what I think.
So this is what I'm saying.
It's not. This.
Correct. That's wrong. Okay, so we actually sent out new, capital pages to the city council on Friday. They received paper copies last night at the city council meeting. So we're reviewing, page 402 as amended, for last night's city council. I want to refresh everyone's memory. When it comes to capital, we have our general capital, which is citywide costs. We have our parks capital. We have the funds. So I'm gonna start with general, and then we'll go through the spreadsheet also.
Thank you.
Kind of that way. So, all right. If you look at the cover sheet that you were given, you'll look at kind of the revenue at the top there. Got about 4.5 in revenue coming in. And then we have expenditures under that, 3.9-ish. So in excess right now, $557,000. Okay, the fund balance, 557. So beginning of the year, July 1, 2.24, and then we're adding 572, that takes it to 2799. So
Got it.
that's the first thing. Mind you, that is general capital, general capital. We'll go to the spreadsheets that we went over
General capital citywide.
2-3 months ago.
Oh, you're just gonna go over the changes,
Yes.
because we did take account of what you all said. During it.
If you have questions, I'm going through these, I will probably quickly stop me, ask questions, if you need to. We had the capital meeting a couple months back, I'm just gonna hit the high points we discussed there.
So
This is
go,
for-
well, you're gonna go quickly, go a little less than your quickly, but still go a little faster than mine.
Deal.
Good.
Number one, we took out, the tree, we'll start with the 501 project. That's the
Okay.
elephant in the room.
Okay.
501 project is in here. It's the last one in the parks facilities at 2.5 million.
On page 403, correct?
Right.
403, yes. We did take out the boom truck. It is completely wiped from parks. We found an alternative. It will need to be replaced the next 3 to 5 realistically, but we're gonna limp that along as long as we can. We'll go into details on that. We drop down to police. The automated license plate reader, we have a finalized contract with them. It is added in there at the correct price. Next year will be $101,387. Dash and body cams at 35. And then the next change that we had in there was the drone at $50,000. And that's a yearly cost for upkeep, maintenance, and all that.
And we will be bringing this to you. Chief Doyle is gonna be bringing it with, a near council meeting.
Who's gonna get certified? in it?
With this type of drone, we do not need to be certified. It's already all pre-programmed to the height. You put in the address, it'll drive right to it within the city. You can be from our police station to anywhere in the city within less than 90 seconds.
Okay,
And then I believe also Shot Spotter is, that can be removed as well, Dave. And that will save some of that cost for the drone.
so we are deleting shot spotters?
It's a more of a luxury item. And I let Chief Doyle explain this,
Okay,
when he comes, but we can get that drone to places before we can even get there and have eyes on it.
okay,
Than having a shot spotter where we're just going to a location, we have no idea what's
Reactive,
really happening.
yeah.
And it could be, where this could be a really good tool for officer safety, firefighter safety, and public safety.
okay.
And we also expressed to, last year, we said we tried Shot Spotter for a year to see if it gave the value that it did, and it didn't seem to.
I believe that's way too.
When the
far.
grant was running out, it wasn't worth us paying
Yeah,
for it.
we had to pay 2 years up front.
Mm-hmm,
If you remember, and that's $200,000.
okay.
So we're not going to be under any kind of liability to continue that contract with ShotSpotter? Because I thought we approved renewal.
It ends, December 31st, 2024.
Okay, and there's no renewal clause. If there is, we're going to catch that.
No,
My next question is maybe more geared towards the chief when he's here, but is drone footage admissible in the court of law?
So that will be an answer for the chief to answer more than I will. I'm sure he knows more about that.
Thank you.
I will get an answer prior to before he comes, because I think he comes on the 30th, and I'll have that answer for you.
Linda,
Two things. So Star Chase, we talked about that. We had it all presented to us. And now it's not there. And I really want that in there, especially when we.
it's still there.
It is there.
No, it's.
So with that,
No, it's not.
There
You're
have
right.
been some issues with that as well. One of them being the dart that's actually going is not sticking. And there,
Oh.
and so is it worth that $25,000? So if we're trying to be more frugal and more wisely conscious,
How does it attach to the car if it's not?
it's
sticky?
shot out from the front bumper of a police car and then it hits the back of the car and it'll stick.
It's not the one that they showed us where it's a key fob and it shoots out from the key fob? Because that's what we were presenting.
But it's still a projectile that has to stick in the car. It's not sticking on the cars is one of the problems. But when Chief Doyle's here, we can
Well,
address all that.
the reason I'm disappointed is because, one, I love that technology and I did think it stuck to the car because that's what I was led to believe. I think we were all led to believe that. And the other thing is, every time he does his report, that those people that leave, you know, what is it, what's the technical term for the driveaways?
Yeah.
Failure to yield.
But
It-
now
it's better than
also remember this
2027.
though, also, if we do have a drone, we can actually put that up. And if we know the officer's there, we can actually,
you're right.
because you will
So
actually
I
be able
guess
to see
work
it as
out the
well,
kinks
they
in
could
the
actually
budget.
follow the car.
Well, and I will say, it was an added tool to flock, and our flock is still gonna do that job. But because if I'm a police officer and somebody just failure to yield, then I'm gonna call it in, and now the flock cameras are,
So also with the car cameras that we do have, they all have the flock in them. That is our advantage. So when we are behind a car, that is already being registered. So then it can pick up wherever that license or that plate.
That's what I was thinking. Automated license plate reader cost that you see is because that's in all. Yeah. Current.
So we actually went up
You do
in
everything?
technology.
well, and the bottom line is, we're putting things in place that will help the officers get these people. That's all that matters to me. So the other question I have is, we had talked about the wrought iron fence, we had talked about that being in our budget, but now I'm seeing it as a new addition and a grant in the grant category. Did we get a grant on that?
Did not have been a grant. I
It's in
brought
the
it to you as
category
a
that
budget
says-
amendment. Yeah.
Okay, I know we had talked, okay, thank you.
So
that
if you
helps.
notice, right now, they've already taken the pillars down and the fence
Mhm.
down that's there. The fence should be up before May, end of May.
Okay,
Can we set a reminder for shot spotters to make certain that we
have
disconnect with them? Because previous times,
Yeah.
we thought things were being stopped and they were being renewed.
I will address that with Chief tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right, Dave, keep going.
There really wasn't a whole lot of changes in the fire capital, so we moved past that. The big ones after this were in common fleets. We did remove both the dump trucks, from next year's budget. We kept in the maintenance van at an outright purchase price of $61. Those are the big changes. If they have a question, I'm more than happy to answer them, but we have similar.
can we,
Can I tell you one more thing that we do have that is coming? But we did not put it in here because we know we're getting it, but it's about $250,000 grant for stuff for police. We don't know where we're gonna put it, so I cannot allocate it yet, but there is an additional $250,000 that we are getting in a grant.
Mhm. Councilman Lipka?
it may be self-explanatory, but let's walk through the infrastructure with the ARPA money, because we've had a lot of conversation come to us from the community about the ARPA dollars.
What page
You've got
are you
this on 404, the street replacement CIP for 2025, we've got the 300,000. The ARPA, we went from 100,000 to 200,000.
So you've got, 300,000 dedicated
Mhm.
capital for street repairs. Then the line below that, you've got 2 million of ARPA dollars. that
That's
are
what I
already
meant, I'm
slated-
sorry.
Already slated for street repairs that we bid out. Then you go down to our CDBG projects, and then we drop down and it kind of totals everything together. So the 2,455,300 you see there is actually the three lines above it total. And then you go into sidewalk replacement at $5,000, and again, that's duplicated below. That's everything you see.
That's a good chunk of money to get started with. Okay.
Just reiterate for me the 501 Plaza Phase 1.
So it is a placeholder in here at $2.5 million.
That is 403. 403?
Yeah, it's the last line in Parks Facilities. 501 Plaza.
We've got plenty of time to discuss whether or not we're gonna build a pool.
No leaks this year.
No, that's
Okay.
great.
It's holding water.
Hey, just jinx us, knock on that wood. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions more on capital? Okay, so our next one will be city council. Start on page 8.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying there's, can't just.
And I do want to point out to everybody, there's numbers on the bottom of the pages.
Yeah.
Remember last year it was
Oh my God, yes.
So,
Third grade assignment,
it was
man.
bad. Ms. Octavia is going to present.
We ready, Octavia? So the biggest change you'll see in the city council clerk budget this year is the addition of personnel. And so some of our increase are due to that addition. We did a budget amendment last year to add the deputy city clerk. And so just going over some of the things that you'll see. Training and conferences, of course, we have for both the deputy and the deputy city clerk, both the city clerk and the deputy city clerk, and we also have conferences in for the city council. This year we did 3, for the MML conference.
Sorry.
Are you going through the main page?
It'll be in Branson. I'm actually on your B2s.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just doing an overview of the B2s, because for the most part, everything is pretty similar to previous years. So I'm just outlining some of the changes that we've had.
Okay, so I did not understand that. So what page are you referring to right now?
Okay. So page 10 was first. I did see a hand up.
Yeah, do we need to wait till
No.
the mayor comes
I'm
back?
in charge now. So,
Oh, okay.
Councilman Fassel?
Yeah, I would like to recommend that we remove the council retreat. That's $5,000. Have spoken to a couple of my colleagues and I think, I can't go. I know there's at least one other person who's definitely not going to go. And I feel like $5,000 is a lot of our taxpayers' money to spend for us to go on a retreat. If we need to get together and talk about something, we can sit right here in this council chamber and do it for free. So my preference would be to remove that $5,000 from the budget.
Well, let's go back a couple of years. We actually set up a couple of retreats for the council, at a time where we felt like there was a dire need, and there was interest. But this is something specifically for the council. So if the council doesn't desire to have it, then we can
I'm
remove
good
it.
with removing it.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion on that?
I move to,
I don't know that a motion is needed. This is a draft budget. So if we're gonna make cuts, we can make the cuts.
We'll make them. And then
I mean, we need to at least poll that a majority wants it removed.
I agree.
I mean, you can't just cross it out based on me saying that, so.
Oh, I'm looking at the head shaking.
Okay.
She's
She's good.
Just to be official, let's go around and do a quick straw poll on that. So removing the conference from the budget of $5,000 for the.
Let me also do this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was attempting to share screen, but I don't want us to leave out, Councilman Williams, who is on.
I-
Okay.
I
There he
speak
is.
for him, But I know.
yeah, you got it.
You're on the big screen, David.
Council, just to make sure that that's something that everyone is in agreement to, or we have a majority.
I mean, I think rather than doing that, I think what we probably should do is there any opposition to us removing the council retreat from any of the council? No? Okay, so then we can go ahead and have that.
So we'll
removed.
make. No. Councilman Palmer?
NIMS, NIMS.
NIMS is, for like a national incident management system. As part of council, everyone should have NIMS certification. Not all of it, but there's a select that I will have to get.
So,
everyone.
Courses that, council members are required to take. Typically here, the fire department has someone to come and do the courses. So at some point during this year, many of you all have already received certification. Once you've gotten it once, you don't have to do it again, is my understanding.
Correct.
But some of the newer council members have not yet received it, and so will be.
and if I remember correctly, us having it was also something that was imperative to the city's insurance policy and that kind of thing.
For FEMA.
And for FEMA grants and so forth.
So
And
we
for
all
like
have to be
flood
trained.
recovery, things like that, knowing that you're part of that national incident management system.
did it
And
online.
that you know it helps.
Somebody should tell me about that, because I didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I will get with them.
Not a requirement before you do it, it's typically a class that we set up at some
Yeah.
point while you're in office. So it's not something that you're required to do before you're sworn in or something like that.
Well,
So
right,
We know you
but-
haven't done it yet.
But I'm here now, so I should go ahead and do it, right?
Well, I'll set it up.
Okay,
It'll go through the fire department.
it's an online thing, or?
Some of it and some of it is not.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll get with you.
Councilwoman Noah?
Okay, so I have a couple questions. So this is just for the, whoever, when I was looking through the book, I noticed that HR, we show the salary for HR, but we don't show that. I know we're not there yet, but I'm.
We're-
getting some- But we don't show that for the, city clerk and deputy city clerk. Is there a reason why?
Well, you actually see a combined salary of the council,
Mhm.
including the mayor, the city clerk, and the deputy city
Right.
clerk. So it's one, it's not broken down to those individuals. It's just a combined salary of
is.
everybody.
So you guys will pass an ordinance, pay ordinance, and those numbers reflect their pay.
Well, I was just curious because for the
But-
HR director, it does identify the salary.
Well, I
in
mean,
there.
one in her
it's
So
only
that's
one.
just why I was,
Yeah.
right, and that's okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Just
And
because-
then, so before this is all said and done, a new pay ordinance may have to be passed. So, but that will be something.
Because with IT, there's only one as well, and the salary doesn't. Yeah, right, IT, isn't there just one person? So just like HR.
Yep.
So Is there, do you have a question? Okay, so I just wanted to ask about that, because
Okay.
it shows the HR director salary, but not anyone else's salary. But, okay, the next question is regarding page 17, the cell phone upgrades. It says 2 times 200 a year,
Page 17.
yeah. I
Did
don't
you want
understand the
Octavia
cell-
to finish
This
up
is-
first?
Can I ask,
Can-
go through these B2s page by page when
Yeah,
we get
let's
to
do
that?
what she said. Jill.
Yeah, so let's, when
So
we
I
get
didn't
to
know
that,
what we were-
Councilwoman Noah will definitely address whatever you have there. So is there anything else on this particular B2 that this council would like to discuss with Octavia?
No.
Okay, so you wanna go page by page, because I was just on the highlights.
I would like to go page by page.
Okay, so the next page is in, conferences for council and, city clerk staff.
So, I mean, I'm of the mind to remove all conferences this year, unless there's a need for, accreditation or something. And then next year, come back and put what conferences are necessary back in the budget, but take a break from conferences this year and realize what we need and what we don't need. We have been carrying over and over and over, and this is a good of time as any that we can put some of these funds towards streets or other things that we've got, that we need. Certainly it, like the MML newly elected officials, like for the attendees. So I don't know, Mr. Williams, if you're planning on going to that, or Um, or if, you know, like you can pay for it yourself. If you want to go to a conference, that's not completely
Give
out of
them,
the realm of possibility.
we need streets. I don't want to go to a conference. I'd rather have my street fixed. My street is horrible. Give the money back, no conferences. I agree with you.
Yeah. And also the Brownsfield Conference, I think that's for the scope of it. I don't think it's worth the city of Ferguson paying to have that attended.
Olivia, would you like to go through and kind of explain what your thoughts were or the reasonings for it? Like, I know the MML conference has always been in there. Have we actually had council members that have gone to that? Have we utilized that every year in the past for the 3 attendees?
Not for 3 attendees necessarily, but, at least one,
Okay,
every year. More than that, going back the years that I've been here. I would hate to see it, be completely taken away. And I say that because our Missouri conferences are very beneficial to the structure of our government and education of our officials. I always encourage you guys to go. I increase the, attendance. I try to budget and increase for attendance the closer that it gets, to St. Louis. If you recall, a couple of years ago when it was down at the Union Station, I encouraged the council to go. The upcoming year is going to be in the city of Branson. It's budgeted for 3 members to go. I encourage, newly elected officials to go, because you learn a lot about, everything that we go through, all of the laws and so forth. And it's actually the closest to, than anywhere else. So, we
so,
talk about contracts and, sunshine law, ordinances, resolutions, parliamentary procedure. They actually go over so many different things in the conferences. I know Councilwoman Noah, you just recently attended the newly elected officials conference. I don't know if you want to, touch on your experience.
I would recommend every newly elected official go to that conference, really. It was very beneficial. I did not get to go in 21 due to COVID, so that's why I went this year. But that was just $35 and such. That wasn't a hundred.
So you went to the one in town, so there's
In
actually
town.
the one in Columbia that you could go to.
Yeah, I just
so,
went to the
yeah.
one in town.
so is there any other conversation? Because I do have a recommendation. Councilman Castle?
Well, I'm not going to go to the newly elected officials. I can tell you that right now. But I also want to focus on the low hanging fruit here, which is the Brownsfield Conference. There's only one brownfield property in the city of Ferguson. It's a lot at the corner of Ferguson Avenue and West Florissant, which belongs to Emerson Electric. That's the only brownfield in the whole city. So it's ridiculous for public officials for us to spend $2,000 of our taxpayers' money for somebody to go to what essentially is a social event with no particular use for the city. So I certainly think whatever the fate is of these other conferences, the Brownsfield conference should be eliminated. And as far as the newly elected officials, you can certainly cut it down to 2. And I don't think that Councilor Williams is going to go to that either. I don't want to speak for him, but I thought I heard him say he wasn't going. And we're the only 2 newly elected, so.
Can I ask-
Yes,
So to
city
keep things
manager.
straight, can we say which ones we are gonna keep and which ones are not? So I got,
Okay, well, can we start with Brownsfield and take a,
Can I
or,
get this under control? So the recommendation that I would like to make is that when the MML conferences are in the city of St. Louis, that we definitely put
That you go
money
then.
into it at that time. Okay. At this time, I would like to see it taken out at 3,500. The MML legislative workshop, that is for any council member. And I've gone to some of those. They're very, very beneficial. They don't take a lot of time. You thinking, I'm not being rude, but you don't know as much as you think you know until you go to these things. So you think you know everything you need to know, but you don't. And so when you go to these things, they will be very beneficial. And wasn't it just a one-day thing that was a couple hours for the newly elected?
Exactly.
So it's,
Exactly.
so I would say that we keep the two in, we take the newly elected down to two, because we have two new people. I highly encourage the two of you to go to it. If the money's there, you should go.
I'm not going.
And then the other thing I would say is the Brownsfield, I don't see a reason for that because I think Mr. Kassoff's reasoning is very clear. And then I want to get to the clerk conferences. So can you explain to us, you've got the 3,000 for the IMC conference too, you've got the 2,000 for the NAP conference, and then you have 2,000 for the MOCA FOA. So can you,
So the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officer, that's the MOCCFOA. That's the conference where we get our certification from.
okay,
And so our new city clerk,
somebody's banging on the door behind us.
no, I think it might have just been closing.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't mean to.
Okay. So our city clerk is striving for certification. I have some certification, but I don't have all of them. I've reached the highest level with MOCCFOA, which is why even this year I didn't attend the entire conference. I just went for the banquet and to do the swearing in because I was, one of the people participating, so I provided the oaths. But I made sure that our deputy city clerk went. The NAP conference is the National Association of Parliamentarians, which I've shifted my study to make sure that I can finish my registration in that. So that's why I have that conference there. The IMC is the International Institute of Municipal City Clerks, which is where we get our second certification from. I have not yet completed the highest level there, and our deputy city clerk is not quite ready for that certification just yet. Her focus needs to be on the MOCCFOA. However, I have two attendees because it's in St. Louis this year.
So who's the second person?
Myself and the deputy, right, because
Um,
it's in St. Louis this year.
Okay. So going to you, Councilman Robinette, you had said if the things had accreditation attached to them.
I mean, like, if you don't go to this conference, you're not certified as a clerk, or
So
she's not
you have to get
certified.
you have to get so much education, so many points, have to have so much experience in your conference. Your classes count as experience and education. And the main place that you can get it at is attending conferences. So, not being able to attend the conference, and this is actually for next year, not being able to attend the conference next year, would definitely, hurt her chances of being able to get certification. Not necessarily hurt the chances, but it's just gonna extend out how long it takes.
Then, I mean, I don't have a problem with keeping the MOC CFOA if that's the one she's working to get.
So keep all three of them, the three, the two, the two.
No, hold on.
You have.
I mean, these are conferences every year, right? They're every year.
You've gone to the others in the past. Do you go every year?
So the MOCCFOA, yes, I have been going every year, like I said, with the exception of, well, the last couple of years, I did not attend the entire conference, for different reasons. And then once I've reached full certification and now that I have a deputy, I wanted to provide her with the opportunity to go. The IMC conference, I feel like if you guys if you all are going to cut, then I would definitely, advocate for us to be able to keep the NAP, because the parliamentarian part is definitely something that's needed. Like I said, I have shifted my focus to be able to study more on that. But then for the IMC, it is closer to home, so I feel like, we could still attend and be able to do something different about our attendance.
Okay. So if you were to,
If I had to keep something and able to keep something else, I would say we could cut the IMC. We can do something different about our attendance there. But I would ask that we could keep the MOCCFOA and the NAP.
okay, so you would be okay letting go of the IMC, IMC?
Yes, if I had to cut something for
Had to
something
cut
else.
something. Okay, and then, so we are on page 11, Mayor, and at this point, the conversation has come to the agreement that the 3,500 for the MML conference is going to be removed. We will go to conferences when they're in the city of St. Louis. And then the MML legislative workshop and the newly elected officials have already said that they would not attend that, so that would be a waste of money. we haven't really touched on the workshop. I personally think it's very beneficial. The council does not agree with the 2000 Brownsfield conference. And then discussing the clerk conferences, she has expressed to us what they all do. And the IIMC conference is in St. Louis,
For 25.
for 25. So there may be classes you can go to,
Yeah, if we had to cut something up, yeah.
but she would like to keep the NAP conference and the MOCC FOA conference. So that would remove 35, 45, 53, 63, 73, 83, 93. Yeah, so.
The MML conference for 3 attendants remain.
No, it's completely removed.
I protest that simply because as the chairperson of the Environmental Sustainability Policy Commission for MML, I have to be at that conference.
Well, we're not saying you can't go. We're just saying the city, this council does not want the city paying for it.
By charter, the city reimburses travel and everything else.
If
That's
it's all-
by charter.
You're back, so you get to vote.
Okay. Councilman Casal.
The city is obliged to reimburse expenses and travel for things which it authorizes us to do. We as a body have to authorize it before it can be reimbursed. Otherwise, everybody could go to whatever they felt like and just send the city a bill, right?
Nobody travels as much as I do for the city.
But it has to be authorized.
I do understand that, but it's also in the budget.
Well, the budget is what we're discussing right
I do
now.
understand that, but try to delete the ML conference. Where are the council people are going to get educated? You got to get educated in municipal government. Councilman. Let's take Councilman Williams. He's on Zoom.
Well, they have so many free classes on YouTube and things of that nature. I know it's been tradition for people to go to these conferences, but I think I would be better suited just going on Zoom and self-studying myself and give that money back to the city to do roads or do other things.
I think that
He said that there's plenty of courses that are free within MML and on YouTube and Zoom that he would prefer to self-learn going through those things and give that money back to the city to be used for other things. Am I correct, David?
Yes, that's correct.
I've never known an MML course to be free.
Well, there's quite a few out there and they're like $15, $20, that kind of thing. So
They're not free. You still have to pay for them. The city pays, I told you, the city pays X amount of dollars per year for the staff and council to take courses.
Based off what's budgeted, yeah.
Yeah, they do. So if you cutting that, how are you going to get educated? I'm not understanding that part. Okay.
Another counselor suggested cutting all of them. I would be in favor of that. I don't have a problem with everything on sheet 11 being cut.
I didn't hear him from his mic. You say cut everything?
So Councilwoman Robinette, in your absence, suggested that we cut all conferences in this fiscal year so that we can start focusing on the other things that are more important, and then we can reevaluate the true value of the conferences to the council and staff and add them back in gradually next year and following years. Am I correct, Councilwoman?
That is
Robinette?
correct.
Can I ask a question? Is
It's
that
okay.
for all of them, including the clerks, or?
Well,
Would-
that's, I mean,
I didn't.
if we talk through that, that needs to be done. I mean, like, I'm fine with canceling, like, just going through and just removing all of them. If the council is wanting to keep a couple in,
Well, she
It's-
also, let me also remind, you also said, Councilman Robinette, that if there were conferences that resulted in accreditation
yeah. we'd
and
look at those.
certification of any kind, that you were more inclined to keep those in.
If they're, yeah, if they're
And-
mandatory,
and so that-
required, not.
Right,
not-
and so that being said,
one.
when Octavia explained what these conferences meant, the ones that did help her deputy and herself with accreditation and certification were the ones that she asked to remain in this.
Which was the IIMC.
And the
No,
MM
I said
It
I
was
would,
the NAP
Oh.
and
NAP and MOCC.
Oh, the IAMC is the one you want to take out.
Yeah.
have to.
and the MML conferences, the classes are accredited for your municipal governance and advance. And I am still working on my advanced certification.
So out of the council MML, if you were to have one remain on this page, what would you want remaining on this page?
It has to be the MML conference. The MML legislation workshop, I don't go to that too much anyway, because I'm always in and out Jefferson City. The newly elected official training, that's for new people.
They don't want it.
They don't want to come, so that's fine. I have no problems with that, but the MML conference, I have to finish that certification.
So,
Or,
No, I won't be able to get to advanced certification from the first certification that I achieved. Yes. Oh, yeah.
so what I would say is that I want to see cutting. I also agree with Councilwoman Robinette. So in regards to the MML conference, I would say if you cut that down to one person.
one person.
That's
that-
fine.
Well, let me finish. If you cut that down to one person, that comes to about 1,600, a little over 1,600.
1,200.
Okay, sorry. My apologies. You divide that by two, what I would say is these courses that you're taking are something that you personally feel a power to do. It's something you personally enjoy. And as the mayor, I think the city can help you out. So I would say if we put in $585 toward the MML conference, that splits your attendance cost of 1,200 in half. And that way you put in your part because this is something you enjoy doing and that you're getting your certification on outside of being a mayor. And then the city helps you do that. It would be simply similar to the tuition reimbursement when we help people go get their scholarships and stuff like that.
It's
And it
not
would-
a pleasure. It's not a pleasure.
It's not a requirement to be the mayor either.
It's not a requirement to be a council person, mayor, anything. MML offers these classes for people to understand, get governance training. Within that training, you be able to administer your office on a better level.
And I appreciate that. And I think that's great. That's why I'm saying the city, I would have no problem having the city split that with you. So I turn this over to the rest of the council conversation.
So you're saying split, taking MML,
Knocking it down to one person being you. Split that number in half. You pay half out of your pocket, the city pays the other half. We drop the newly elected officials because they don't want to go. I personally, I don't know if the rest of the dais agrees, I would like to keep the workshops on there. Brownfield conference comes off, IIMC conference comes off, and we keep the NAP conference and the MOCC FOA conference. That's not me, it's her.
that's fine,
Uh,
no problem.
No,
Why keep the workshop? Who's going to attend? Not for Octavia, but for.
The second line.
yeah, because
wanna
the
keep-
workshops
I mean,
throughout
I'm
the
not
year,
going.
I mean, we're still gonna have another election next year. And there's gonna be new people on this dais then too. And they may want to go to those workshops. I personally have gone to a couple of them. They are very good.
Sure. I mean, I'm just saying if we're gonna cut, if we're cutting the
Delete it.
MML conference, if we're gonna.
The Brownfield Conference, basically, I get a scholarship to go because I'm the chairperson. Yes, Councilman Castle.
I agree with what you're saying. Let's wipe out the workshop as well. I'll go with that. And the Brownsfield Conference, if you're getting a scholarship, then you don't need it in the budget, right?
Correct.
So,
I could
so we,
maneuver with that.
okay, so then all we have left is the NAP and the MOCCFOA.
In a MML conference for one person.
All right, $600 for the MML conference is what we were gonna do, half of one person.
I don't care. I still have to go no matter what.
Okay, so 600 on the MML conference and then the last two lines at the full price and everything else eliminated entirely.
All right, so we're looking at $4,600, correct? Okay,
So, Octavia, you not going to the MIC conference?
IMC,
Yeah, IMC, okay.
it had to be sacrificed. I'll have to apply for a grant, a scholarship or something.
Okay,
So.
That's why I
okay.
said I can do something else, make it happen.
Okay.
so I would also like to put this on the floor too. So there's a couple of thoughts. So you saved $10,800. But I think you put the IIMC back in and that you still save more, about half of what we have on here. So you're still making a decent
No.
difference.
No.
The other thing I would also say is that when you all say no to me, that when you go and get your scholarships, that you have the opportunity and we leave it on the table, we leave it open-ended, that she can then come and request, like if her scholarship is for 3/4 of it, you know, you can request something and again,
So we'll leave the description just unfunded.
I would say we leave it unfunded.
That's fine. We can always do a supplementary appropriation.
Exactly.
If it's,
If you
it's,
get a scholarship for MML conference, you know, same thing.
No.
I mean, we're leaving in 600 for MML, so
I have to run to the restroom. I'll be back.
you know what? If you're gonna do that, so will I.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Got it. I got it. Yes.
But we're not removing anything, we're just unfunding them all.
Well, total fund is 4,600.
Your help for me while we're on the break. So Lord, you know, I guess I'm gonna overlook something. Okay, show me where to be.
Page 392 or 394.
See, I thought I have been to the- Were you talking to me?
It's in the table of contents on the first page or second page.
Like 10 pages after this point. No, you're good. It's right about back in here, 3 pages past that point.
But see, the other books, even though I know this is a difference, because we've been doing things differently, but that's okay. It's a learning process, and I'm gonna.
Are we gonna get out of here by 8 o'clock? Am I gonna have to add a Saturday?
Well, you know, the kitchen downstairs or that bathroom.
Never had a councilman in the budget line.
Yeah, we have.
You never had one?
But she said we've never had a council book this large. They've been this large,
Never.
had a budget binder this large.
Yes, we have.
Every year.
Last 2 years, nobody included you.
This is what I'm saying. These are, Evan did try to do P2. From page 11. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
we have things we can cut. We've looked through this. There's other pages with bigger numbers. I think this stuff is, I mean, I know you have made comment about the Shamrock Ball. I mean, I don't think you cut sponsorships because whether you guys like it or not, Ferguson as a community has to be represented at these types of
Exactly.
events because that's what involves other people to consider our community for future endeavors, whether it be development, whether it be moving here, whether it's all part of the goodwill of promoting your city. So I wouldn't cut that. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face. But your food costs, leave those there. We're feeding staff. I mean, there's other areas we can do that. We don't have to rip every single page apart.
And the Shamrock Ball supports special people. That's the purpose of it, is to raise the money.
So I appreciate what you're saying. I've worked for Lafayette Work Center for 18 years. They make that money, but that money is not directly going to their staff. That money is going to a bigger building, it's going to new machinery, it's, and God love them, they do great work, don't get me wrong. But they will raise a lot of money outside of the 1,500 from Ferguson.
Of course, that's when all of the municipalities come together and do their due diligence and do their fair share. Okay, all
I
right,
enjoy
so
the event.
we're gonna leave this page, okay.
I'll just go on record saying I don't care if we cut all this.
NCI, it says golf. I don't do no golf. I don't think anyone here still do golf.
It's not just the golf.
I know it. I know it. I know it's not just the golf.
But I would also say that I've worked those golf tournaments and whether we are playing or not, if Ferguson City is sponsoring a hole, every single person that comes through there goes through that hole and that's positive promotion for the city.
I understand that. I'm not.
No, I know, I'm just saying.
I'm understanding, so let's move on and leave this page like it is and come back. What's the next page? No, we're
Boards.
just moving on. Okay. Earth Channel. Octavia?
Boards and commissions.
The Earth Channel. Okay, so, this particular page is the annual budget and the annual boards and commission banquet and boards and commission expenses.
What page are you on?
15.
Yes, Councilwoman.
So I want to ask a question because we've got 5,000 here for training and other expenses. This is two parts. Let me go through it all. I don't know what we're training boards and commissions on. They do their own thing. I have never seen any training. And then when you go to category 2202 in Fund 10, Department 28, there's let me see if I can find the Department 28.
Should have wrote down the page.
Department 28. 10, Planning and Development.
106? Okay, thank you.
106.
Okay, so you go to 106. And we have line 2202. That's not, yeah,
106 is for
I know, it's
economic development.
102.
You're on 102.
Yeah. So you go to page 102, 2032, and it says internet. That's not it.
It's a different department.
There is a training in here and it says for boards and conferences, and that's why boards and commissions.
Huh? Yes, yes, yes.
So Octavia, so HRC has the annual training for the boards and commissions. So
Yes, so, the annual training the boards and commissions, what we discussed was having funds available for every board or commission, not anyone in particular, but for everyone for training, for any other costs that they might have. So, sometimes they would have events. I'll use HRC as an example. HRC would have events and they would have to sponsor it themselves. The members would. Anytime they would do plaques and so forth, they would have to pay for those themselves. That's why this line item was created. So if there were classes that come up, we do have planning and zoning that do classes. CRB had asked for classes, the NACO conference. Different courses do come up, throughout, the year for the different boards and commissions. And so that's what that funding was for. But not only, and that's why it didn't just say training, it said other expenses, because as a commission, if they also had other expenses, that's what that line was to be used for.
Okay, so I may be incorrect in my definition, but on page 110, I finally found it. It's page 110. It's 2202. It says commissions, 5,000, training conference, printed material, event planning for commissions, boards, and organizations. So are they referring to our commissions and boards, or? Okay, but again, how,
What department is this?
Or planning.
10 department.
Department 28.
I believe like this year, did we not send some people to UMSL for some of the training? I think Rachel got some training, I think. Planning zoning members
Yeah.
got some training as well.
At least 5 of them go, and it makes a difference on how they are working in, planning and zoning.
I hear what you guys are saying. It seems to me that we have similar things happening in different departments
That-
with budgetary things that are going on that could be either streamlined, coordinated, combined. I don't know.
Councilwoman.
So the one on page 15 that lists 5,000 for training and other expenses, and the one on 110, which is under planning and development for $5,000, it looks like a duplication because it's not spelled out. Yeah, so it just looks like 5,000 here for boards and commissions, 5,000 here. Is it separate? Is it?
It
or-
is separate. Boards and commissions, you have 21 boards and commissions. The 21 boards and commissions fall under city clerk council.
Okay,
The neighborhood association is in planning.
okay.
We had about 6 or 7 citizens take up special course at
Okay.
UMSL, which made a big difference.
Okay.
Okay.
Made a difference.
How much have we spent this year to date on training and other expenses for the council and clerk community relations?
Hold on. I don't have that sheet.
I can get that for you. I don't have it.
How much did the banquet cost last year?
The banquet is pretty close in cost. The banquet is running close to the $7,000, so it is pretty close in cost.
Which one was that?
The citizens look forward to that banquet every year.
Mm-hmm.
For the banquet?
Entire budget line.
It was budgeted 8,000, we're forecasted 28, or was budgeted 10,000, we're forecasting 8,000.
I make a motion to amend this page to read $8,000 as total cost for both items.
Make sure you got that number right.
8,000 total.
Correct.
We're not,
Councilman Palmer has a motion on the floor for page 15.
For the total page.
I'll second that.
Are you ready to vote?
One item for discussion. Don't we have to divide that between the lines? We can't just change the total or it won't add up.
You
don't And-
have to, as long as it's in the same number, count number doesn't.
Okay.
matter.
I have an item for discussion as well.
Councilwoman,
David, Dave, it's David on your email, but anyway. So when you say this is our forecast number of 12,500 and the actual is 8,000. And the forecast shows the banquet at 7,500. Okay, what is the actual for the banquet in your paperwork?
We did-
Pull out all the actual costs. This is that whole line. item.
So,
Forecast. We're taking what we spent 2 days, and that's what we're spending for that 3 months. Every department, what they spent 2 days, what they're gonna do. Forecast cost. Forecast is this one, forecast. $1,000 cost. Actual amount to pay for the banquet, that was that.
so this number is what you've actually spent to date with 3 months added to it. That's the 12,500.
No, 8,000.
Okay.
8,000 is what we spent 2 days. Plus 3.
Okay, the reason I'm clarifying is because my expertise is in these banquet type things, and I know the expenditures there, and 7,500 is very reasonable for the size and the amount of food that you provide and everything else. So I just don't want to have a situation where if we pass Mr. Palmer's request, that now we have destroyed both line items.
Right, I agree with that.
And I'll say this too about the boards and commissions. What we said initially when we added that line item was, that the cost for boards and commissions, training and other events was, as it was requested. So first come, first serve, what we had available. So I guess if we get to the point to where we typically do the banquet earlier in the budget year, if we get to the point to where that budget line has been exceeded, then we just would not have those expenses.
I would suggest that if we go ahead with Mr. Palmer's request, which I understand his request because I think the 5,000 is a little high personally. I would like to see you spend whatever you need to spend on your banquet because that's what encourages these people to be on the boards and commissions. That's what they look forward to. I say you spend what you gotta spend to make that a nice event, and then what's left is what's left. And if you need more at that point, again, you can come to the council and make a request. It doesn't mean we have to say yes, but it can happen then.
Because we really do need to have enough money for the plaques for HRC, which I know that's not a large expense, but I want to make sure we have.
Those plaques are a sore spot for me.
The what?
8,000.
Well, the motion's still on the floor.
He is still on the floor. We end the question. Any other questions? Any other comments? Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries to 8,000.
Okay, so next we have licenses and fees. We of course have an increase in next request. We also have one in the archive social. I'm starting with those at the bottom first. We've had an increase in the amount of staff that uses social media, so that has increased our platform for archive social. We've also had an increase in just a natural increase in the rates for next request, as well as an increase in the usage. So that's where that comes from. And then we're also adding a payment portal to lift some of the responsibilities off of finance and to also make it more efficient. So that's where the next request comes from. And then the Granicus management software, we added that last year, so this is the fee for that. That software is actually up and going. It's just in the testing phase in the city clerk's office before we roll it out to everybody else. And then for the streaming, we did not remove the streaming because we know there are gonna be some costs. We may not continue to keep Earth Channel, but that's why we just have web streaming there and took it away necessarily from Earth Channel itself.
Councilman Kassoff?
I did want to address the web streaming. My wife produces little videos and puts them on YouTube. And not only is it free, but she's getting paid. She's getting paid. She just started doing it and she's already getting paid more than we're spending. I would like our IT staff to investigate the possibility of putting that stream on YouTube, which would cost us nothing, or, there's other options out there as well. So, I very much recognize the need to provide electronic access to our meetings, both live and archived. I just don't see why it should cost $5.5 grand a year to do it.
So I guess a little bit of history also. It's the equipment that's needed. IT's not here to explain it, but it is the equipment that's needed for us to convert from the program that we have to also stream it to the government channel, which we still use. YouTube is not, there's not a cost for me to put the videos onto YouTube.
It's not a what?
There's not a cost for me to put the videos onto YouTube.
Right, it's
So,
free.
okay.
Yeah, it's free. And I mean, we're not going to get the kind of web traffic that, influencer type people do. So we're not going to make any money on it, but there's no charge. And there are other cities that are doing that. And as far as equipment or converting the video format goes, I mean, I don't know what that camera back there is. I do know that you can get decent quality cameras for not very much money. And based on the quality of our current stream, I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I think it would be great if we could get our audio problems fixed and upgrade our video. But that's something we could probably do for $1,500 and then eliminate the recurring cost of streaming while providing people a much better product. Cause I know that the people that are out there watching right now, it's a frustrating experience.
So, just so that you're aware, we are in the process of updating the equipment. We're waiting on it to be received, and that's a part of the entire council chamber
Right.
remodel. Those camera stands back there will go away. You will have new camera equipment. This is the cost to make sure that we have everything we need for the conversion. So once all of that has taken place, we'll know for sure what other equipment that we're gonna need and make sure that we've covered any license fees and so forth going forward with it.
Well,
But in terms of the audio, all of that is already being taken care of.
which is terrific. And I know that Chief Hampton had mentioned that it was part of the remodel. I was just bringing that in because that's part of the big picture here. But the $5,500 budget item is for web streaming services. It's not for equipment. So, if we have a need for equipment, that's a whole separate issue. I don't believe we should be paying for web streaming services. And I think we can eliminate that item without reducing the service we're providing to our residents.
Who normally take care of the web streaming services? A staff person has to do that. Is that not correct?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, right now it's something that's done from here that I take care of from where I am. But like I said, in the conversion, we're looking at different modules and so forth. But that's something that IT can probably better explain once we get to that point. I mean, he might be able to explain it now, but he's not here today, so.
Okay,
But I did make a note to have him to review our web streaming services for
okay,
any cut in costs.
okay. Councilwoman.
Octavia, so the agenda management software, is that something that can be done in like, what is it, Civic Plus or?
So we did look at the Civic Plus module. The costs were similar. But the one that we used was the one, I chose that one because I thought it was a little bit more user friendly.
Okay.
But I don't know about OpenGov though, Councilwoman Lipton. I'm not sure.
OpenGov is more a payments thing than a,
I didn't know that OpenGov has so many capsules to it.
yeah.
But you got to pay for it, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Pay for everything.
So web streaming.
Well, I made a note for him to take a look at, to review cost cutting, any cost cutting.
Okay, I'll just make a note then.
So we're leaving that page as is and then get back to us.
IT will get back to us,
Okay.
or Octavia will get back to us.
Okay. Yeah. So next we have, page 17.
I just had a quick question.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Just with the cell phone upgrades, or is that for you and, Pershawn?
Uh, so the cell phone upgrades is me, because I'm the only one that actually gets a cell phone. The actual cost for the cell phone, though, those are not only the bill for the city clerk's office, but also the stipend that goes to the city council for those that take it.
Okay. Councilman.
I've got a bigger question about cell phones. We've got cell phones scattered all throughout the budget. Unfortunately, if I could get all these yellow pages in a spreadsheet where I could sort them, I'd have a handle on what that comes up to. But, you know, when it's on paper, there's not really any way to do that. But the thing that jumps out at me, I mean, it's real nice that I'm getting a $50 a month cell phone reimbursement, but my cell phone bill is $25 a month for unlimited everything AT&T. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't even feel like the city should be paying my entire cell phone bill, much less double. And so I wonder why we're, you know, $50 here, $50 there. Sooner or later, you're talking about real money. And I think that's something that should be reconsidered.
Councilman.
And I wanted to say too that when I get my automatic draft every month, I've been getting $30.87 for my phone. So I'm not sure where that number came from. Okay.
Well, I respectfully disagree with, Councilman Cassoff, because just I've been on, this is my second term, and my phone rings off the chain. I mean, you may not get as much activity from residents as I do, and it's okay. But I utilize my personal cell phone a lot, to assist residents, and things are calming down compared to 21 when I came into this role. I'm not saying, you're not doing a lot to help the residents, but I'm just saying things are getting better than they were in the past. So maybe you don't have the activity, but I do.
Councilman.
It's not a question of activity, and I have plenty of it, although people are used to reaching me through Messenger and email as opposed to calling me on the phone. But that's beside the point, because the days of paying by the minute for cell phones are long gone. So whether you get 10 minutes of phone calls a month or 10 hours a month doesn't affect your cell phone bill by a penny. And you'd have a cell phone regardless. So, and I don't know how much your cell phone is, and it's really none of my business. But what I do know is that you can get cell phone service from basically every carrier for $25 a month at this point, but the city is still reimbursing people 50, and there's dozens, if not hundreds. I mean, I can't even count how many of them there is in here, but we have a budget-wide presumption that we're going to give people $50 a month for a cell phone. And I think that was probably a good number in like 2017 or 2016, but it's come down a lot since then. And if your cell phone bill is still $75, $100 a month, you should renegotiate.
The question becomes, can you, accept calls that pertaining to the government on your personal phone? If anything is needed off your personal phone, by the city paying a portion of it, they can retrieve what you have off your phone.
It's sunshine.
Yes,
Oh.
so if you totally take that away, then you cannot expect anything from a personal phone to be used for the city business.
And I'm not saying to totally take it away. I'm saying that I think a presumptive cell phone reimbursement to $50 is probably double what it ought to be in 2024. $25 a month would pay my entire cell phone bill. And I don't have rinky dink cell phone bill that I got, from a gas station. I have AT&T from an AT&T rep who came to my house. Okay. And I'm paying $25 a month. So I just don't see why we're paying everybody. And you know what, this isn't the hill I'm going to die on, but I think it's a bad use of the city's money to be reimbursing people for double what the going rate of a cell phone is right now. I don't think it should be zero. I'm not saying that, but I think $25 would be an appropriate amount, and I would apply that throughout the budget.
Councilwoman,
So I have a question. So if we have $50 a month, but my phone bill for my family is about 350, does that mean you only get like 1/6 of my information off my phone through the Sunshine Request?
so, a lot of people phone bills are not where yours is,
No.
and you cannot expect everyone to be like you. You cannot expect that. Life is not like that. So, and various people have various different amounts for phone bill, but $50, I don't think is unreasonable. Okay.
So professional services, there's actually nothing there. We don't actually use that service anymore.
What page are you on?
We're on 18.
Page 18. Page 19. Invitations, business cards, print and binding any official records, and plaques and other printings.
And that's not the plaques for
That's
boards
not
and
the plaques for
commissions.
boards.
That's plaques for like youth and made a proclamation or whatever. Okay.
Various mailings. Mailings from the city clerk's office. This is our postage line here. Office supplies. Footage. and Miscellaneous.
Okay. Thank you, clerk, city clerk. Next person up. Okay, city manager. $24.
I don't know that we have to go through every
Yeah, I
page.
think
so.
No.
Just wanted
There
to-
was a reason that I wanted to go through, council with the fine tooth comb. But we can take high level, like, do it high level. Yeah,
Okay.
if that's okay with
Okay,
everybody
that's
else.
fine. All right, let's take to 10,000 feet. To
Yeah.
10,000 feet for.
Come back out, zoom back out.
Zoom in, zoom out.
All right, so, start off with, city manager. So we added the assistant city manager. In this department also have the consent decree coordinator, prosecuting attorney, assistant prosecuting attorney. And then we'll be looking at potentially a part-time employee as well, which one, I think that's a prosecuting attorney, is that correct? Beverly, up front. So the lady at the bottom of the steps is my employee.
Okay.
Okay,
So, I'm not sure how you want to do so for this, but if you look at the comparison from this year to next year, or from last year to this year, we're up a little bit in training and education, it's obviously being paid. And also, with this consent decree stuff, if you want me to, I can go through the D2s, or I can just talk through.
no,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I just have a question in general. I guess I was surprised by the increase in the budget amount for salaries. It looks like, it's not, it's a huge jump from forecast of this year to next year.
Yes.
It's over budget because you're in this one. Okay.
Say that again.
But it shouldn't, like, this shouldn't be double, or it's actually more than double. It's, yeah.
It wasn't in the full year budget.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're talking 240. $248,000 is.
So
Does that include another person?
Is Chris Crable in your budget? Okay, so you've still got Crable as well as,
But that
Okay.
was in the forecast for 2024. Yeah, so I'm just looking for that $248,000. Is that what it is?
148, 330.
we'll get you a better number.
So salaries?
Yeah, it's just salaries.
So those salaries are you, Chris,
Okay. Okay, so five, it accounts for 5 or full-time employees and 1 part-time. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't double counting something, or it just seemed like a big number that I wanted to at least address it. Okay.
Councilman Palmer.
I had a couple questions. When it comes to like a lot of the allowances for the city manager, specifically like hotspot or cell phone, is there redundancy with the fire department for that too, or has that been eliminated? So like, since you're playing your dual role position, do you still have a cell phone in the fire department as well as a hotspot in the fire department, or is there,
Spot is part of EOC at the fire.
there's also a hotspot in the city manager's office too?
Yeah, but the fire department has an actual EOC bill, spot, and the city manager is supposed to have one as well.
Okay.
So they're supposed to be there for emergency.
My next question was, there had been discussion at one point about possibly hiring a city attorney who worked for the city. Would that person be able to serve in a dual role and also be the prosecuting attorney?
That's a good question. I really don't see why I couldn't.
We used to do that when Stephanie was here. She was the city attorney and she served as a prosecuting attorney, and a DOJ kind of frowned on that. And so that's why it was separated. But it was done at one time.
You want me to look?
If it is the intention to possibly look into hiring a city attorney, I would think that would be something they could probably handle. Our caseload's not too large, from what I saw in the court's budget, and they do hearings and stuff obviously too, which would help.
Councilman Castle.
we had talked about adding a staff attorney to the budget. I don't see it. Did I miss it or is it not here?
Well, I did not put it in because I didn't have full direction of council. So I didn't want to just put something in there. I need direction from council. If you want me to put an attorney in there, I will. So I can do that, and we can look at it also being for the prosecuting for the.
Well, I can't speak for everybody. I would like to do that, but what we also need to know is where in this 450 pages are attorney things in the budget that are going to be now done by this staff attorney.
Professional services right now.
But I guess what I'm understanding is there's various things throughout the different departments that Apollo or Lewis Rice does. And those costs are separated per department. So if you pull all those costs together, then that gives us a better opportunity to clearly see what we spend departmental wise on law versus what we would spend on an in-house lawyer and what would the savings.
So that is citywide. When we get to citywide, I can answer. a little bit more because we'll go into that.
Okay.
And to be clear, I'm not going to pretend that a staff attorney is going to do 100% of what the Lewis Rice folks are doing now. But there's a lot of stuff that they would be able to do.
Okay, Councilman Palmer.
Yeah, my theory is a staff attorney should be able to attend all of our meetings, all of our boards and commissions meetings. We don't need somebody sitting here for $2.75 an hour at a council meeting when we're fighting about trivial matters, you know? And then also there's like, if they could do the prosecuting attorney role, that helps. When we hold hearings for dangerous buildings, that helps, you know? And then also all of the legislation stuff that's being done, they can do a lot of that stuff. And also it'd be great to have that consultant because oftentimes you do see where we say more times than none, we need to talk to the city attorney. We need to talk to the city attorney and all that takes time and we're being billed for that. So like they're saying, we would have to look at some of the other departments and see where we're paying for those services. But I do know that you did a little research. I mean, can you give me a ballpark within 50,000 of how much we're spending minus consent decree with Lewis Rice right now?
I mean, if you go to 1017, it's right there. 1017, which is citywide.
Which page?
I know I did see a
Hold on.
I did see a retainer for Lewis Rice for $175,000.
So the consent decree is $300,000.
That monitor or?
That's
what?
monitored,
That's
that's
the
IT, that's support.
But you're cute, aren't you?
She says she's safe.
What I was getting at is I've heard that there might be a possibility that in the last year we have spent between $450,000 and $600,000 with Lewis Rice, including the consent decree. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't have that figure on me. I know it's high. I know it's up there. I can get you everybody that figure. And we can get that for the next meeting.
And it'd be good to just kind of know, we
I
don't got to be within the hundreds or even the 10,000s, but I know it's hard to split up consent decree related matters from general administrative lawyer stuff, but we should be able to kind of get within 10,000, 20,000 and see if we're indeed spending 300,000 or 400,000 on day-to-day legal services, we should probably look at that.
And adding to what Councilman Palmer is saying, you know, what you said, when you said it, I definitely remember the DOJ really did frown but harshly, which is one of the reasons Stephanie left. But if we had what Councilman Cassoff and Councilman Palmer are saying, and we maintained Lewis Rice just for consultation, possibly for the consent decree, because they've been involved for so long, and that's all they did, then that would, I think, alleviate the DOJ's concerns, because now we're not having, you know, we've got what is the word, consulting from Lewis Rice. And we would have our own person and prosecuting. So now it does mean that when the consent decree is over, then that would be the end of the consulting.
Councilman Palmer.
And I just see that it would be somewhat beneficial also, because if we can find someone that has the municipal experience, which is relatively easy to find, that would save us a fortune. We'd probably get better service too. Because I know that oftentimes Mr. Carey is quite busy and we're getting passed with other people in Lewis Rice. But also it would be good to find somebody who has human resources and employment law experience too, because we have spent a lot of money handling with human resources related issues on legal work. So it'd be good to also try to have somebody in-house who can help us offset some of those costs as well, is how I thought about it.
So what I'm hearing is, city manager, is that if you can take some time and pull Lewis Rice fees together as to how much he's spending on a consent decree, with Tuesday nights meetings and whatever department would need, and we'll get a better understanding about how we can cut the costs. Is that where you're going?
Be more efficient, but also cut costs at the same
Right.
time.
So,
And have better service, because you know, you have to think when you have you or the city manager or somebody else has a legal question, every time you pick up the phone or send an email, it's probably $100 at least. So at least if we have somebody on staff sitting in an office here and we have those legal questions that probably come up every day, we're not always running up the clock.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, the consent decree, the Department of Justice can frown a lot, but can we do it or not? That's the reality of it. You know, they do a lot of frowning, you know, I know recently they weren't, but if we can actually do it and it's not frowned upon, you know, and it's not against the consent decree, we should definitely look at that option.
The way we present, the way we will present it to the judge, that would make a big difference.
Right.
If, if we are working diligently to be in compliance, there are some things that they will have to agree to.
And it was also-
We've been a lot more diligent lately, that's for sure.
What, we have.
Yeah.
No, it's just 8. Okay, all right, you did to 10,000, you still need to do more. Are there any questions for us, city manager?
Are we doing B2s through this or?
Just the conferences.
Just the conference.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you have others? I thought that's all I had.
Oh, we keep them?
Well, we're going to the B2.
It's only one that said,
Yeah, 27, page 27. Okay, opening statement was to remove all conferences except that were necessary or required for, you know, certification, accreditation, whatever. So, and then bring them back next year. So, for the ones that are necessary. Are there any that are absolutely required?
So that's just it. You know, we're both kind of new at this and we want to go see, you know, what is out there for us that we can bring back to the city. Now, maybe we can cut it down to where only one of us go to each one.
I'm actually okay with both. Like that's a compelling reason for me. Like you guys are both new and it's brand new.
Right.
So
I think we should, go ahead.
And I would just say too, like, you know, you guys bear the brunt of, you know, citywide complaints. So I agree, it's good to go and see if these serve a purpose, but also please keep in mind when you come back next year, don't be shy about saying, yeah, I don't need to go that. That was a waste of my time. I came back and had 4,000 emails to respond to. You know, I know oftentimes we have sent people to conferences and we've come back with 6-figure proposals for things that never got used, such as the Buxton Group.
no, we paid.
We paid for that.
Yeah, that was
We
paid.
for
So
that.
it's good to, once, similar to ShotSpotter, you know, I had a candid conversation with Chief Doyle at the time and I said, I don't want to hamstring you. You're new here. Do you really need this? And at the time he thought it was a good tool, but it sounds like he found an alternative that was going to be better, that is cheaper, which is good. And I just encourage you to also do the same thing. You know, I know people don't want to go to conferences sometimes because, you know, it's just like a vacation where you work twice as hard before and twice as hard after. It's not like, but at the same time, are we getting value for that? So I would just encourage you when you go just to say, hey, was it worth it? Was it not? You know?
I'm one of the biggest anti-conference person there is. Be home and be with my family, and then because you are gonna work a lot harder when you get here back, because you do have 4,000 emails. But I think it's beneficial this year.
Yeah, and one benefit too is these conferences are so widely publicized, you can often see the schedule of events, you know, who's performing that night and what all the seminars are. You could see if it's something that you think's worth going to. You know, I often attend real estate conferences. I don't do much anymore because it's kind of just a dog and pony show. You know, it's everybody's showing up the who's who of real estate, you know, and you learn about all these different softwares you can buy. They're supposed to make you a bunch more money that cost you a bunch of money. You know, it becomes like a sales pitch because you have the sales floor for all the exhibits. So, but like I said, if you think they're worth it and you look over the agenda, the itinerary, I don't have a problem with it. But like I said, just kind of reevaluate once you're done if you do go.
Councilwoman North?
Are these all out of state or they all in
Not all
Missouri?
around the state, somewhere in Missouri.
Okay. But for the first year, you and Dave ascertain whatever and then come back and let us know.
CMA one is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Now, I see MA is the one you basically get a lot of certification from. Okay.
Yeah, and to clarify too, not all these are city manager conferences. Some are consent decree coordinator too.
Right.
So
Exactly. Okay, anything else?
I don't think I had anything else.
Page 37 is the prosecuting attorney, so put a flag there pursuant to our discussion of a few minutes ago.
All right, what page you guys want me to turn to now?
Okay,
That's all I have.
anything else? Flag page 37. Anything else? Anything else you would like to go over, city manager?
I'm looking at, on page 37, what do you want me to do with it?
Put a flag on it,
Just-
so we can look into the possibility of prosecuting attorney being combined with the city attorney, correct?
It being a responsibility that the city attorney assumes.
Yes, Councilwoman.
It's quick regarding the cell phones. If it's so, you all receive more than a $50 a month allowance because that's $700 each instead of 600.
Where are you?
We're
On
contract
page
with them.
36.
36.
Are you
We-
talking about phones?
We were on
Okay.
page 37.
Okay.
The minute
that's how-
that the
it's
citizens
$700
get
a
your
year.
number,
Learn.
they
Well,
call all night.
we love our
sometimes
residents.
5 o'clock in the morning.
No, I was just curious because it's 700, so it's $700 a year. That's how much you, okay.
On that same note, on that same page, and it's a clerical thing. We're on page 36. It's just a clerical thing. You've got cell phone for city manager, cell phone for A2CM. We don't have an assistant to city manager. We have an assistant city manager. So we probably want to fix that. Yeah, that's his phone. That's David's
Okay.
phone, right? So I would just a clerical, because somebody will say, well, I don't remember.
Mhm. Anything else for the city manager, department? You have nothing else? Okay, thank you, city manager.
All right, now we will be going to citywide. Which is 1017, which is on page 73.
What?
See, HR is next, so you gotta go.
Yeah, I saw HR. I'm like,
That's why.
page 74, you said?
73.
So we're not going in order?
No.
So there is no personnel on this one.
Okay.
So
That one, right.
salary line is what
Yeah,
this-
we're okay. No. So, do you want me just to
The
let you guys tell us? or do you want me to
10,000.
go?
Yeah.
View. Jeff used to say that a lot.
Which one do you want to address first?
Page 88.
Page 88?
Then I have a question.
Okay,
Page 88.
okay. Councilwoman Robinette.
So this is what we're looking at. So he's in,
We want.
my point is if a city attorney in-house would then, decrease that substantially for professional services.
Well,
Councilman Cassoff.
surely $170,000 isn't our entire Lewis Rice bill by a long shot.
No, this may be his retainer.
But we'd have to budget for anticipated expenses in addition to the retainer
Yeah, the litigation
here I-
down there, because it's broken down into what it would be.
in all the departments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilwoman Noah.
You said there's no personnel for citywide?
There's
No.
no person.
So what is the, training and education
That's what I was.
Wide training and education.
and the memberships?
It just had, oh, I see $740 forecast. 74.
75, and 76.
Yeah, it's-
Training and education of nobody. Good
I
point.
mean.
2,500.
Yeah, to educate
the
nobody.
18,000
Yeah.
On page 75.
those were that, even though she forgot me, those were gonna be my questions too, but I have other ones.
So we should be able to get rid of page 75.
Okay, Councilwoman Lipka, then Councilman
Okay,
Palmer.
so we're waiting on an answer for the page 75
Five.
and 76, okay. Then you go to page 82, that looks like a duplicate page to me. From page 81 and 82.
It is, but it's only counted once.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, we only need one of them.
All right, just gotta double check these things.
Okay.
What is the county-in on page 84? Is that the one where we post our bids and our, okay. And then page 85, why are we paying that much for a bank charge analysis?
Mm-hmm.
I bet your regions would be real happy to have our business.
Well, the finance director's not here, so
I'll get you.
we'll get an answer. Okay.
I'm not done yet. So.
So is this, are you guys, do you want us to present budget or are you guys?
I'm still asking my questions. These are just my earmark pages. Okay. So I had the same question they did on the attorney cost versus an in-house attorney. And then again, I had page 90 and 89 are duplicates. Just want to point that out again.
Okay, I crossed that over.
I'd also like to save us $300,000 on page 92, repeated on 93. Think we can cut that?
But it's just broken down to what it is.
No, I'm saying cut that service.
Huh?
I want to cut the monitor. She stop paying the monitor. There's $300,000 right there.
Councilman Castle.
On page 92 as well, $55,000 for IT support for the monitor. Does she have a full-time IT person? Because that's about $55,000. Page 92. You know,
Chris, is that also for Ben Horowitz?
so we have a full-time person working for IT for the consent decree?
Yeah, I think we have a couple more years on the contract. Yeah. We'll have our data together, correct? Big part will be the consent decree page that we're developing. Everybody know where we are with every step of the process as well.
Because to me, that sounds like a professional service. I mean, I know you've got it under non-recurring authorized expenditures, but the way you explained it, that's a professional service for us.
Yeah. But it's with the consent decree. Right. Yeah, that code is 1334.
Is
So-
133,
1334 is the code for that project.
okay, because, okay.
So 55,000 for the IT data support for the
I don't-
consent decree.
I don't know if you really need to relabel them, maybe better description. Yeah. Because when you explain it, I mean, then I'm good with it, but when I just look at, I did the same thing Nick did. Who's this person and why are they getting this much money?
Yeah, I think you were a full, like, a line item, not budget for it. So, like, for IT.
But hopefully we're gonna be to that point soon. So,
The budget, the spend, not budget.
Councilwoman Noah.
Just for clarity, because we've been kind of all over the place, pages 89 and 90, are those supposed to be there? I mean, is that correct? The $800 for the.
It's a duplicate.
99.
It's a duplicate. That's one of the ones I said is a duplicate.
Yeah.
Pull one of them.
Okay, I got it. I'm not there yet. Okay, so page 91, the payments made to auditors, attorneys, the 1,500 FNIP and pension boards, is
Okay.
that
What page you on now?
91?
We have to have attorneys to work with that pension board.
No, I'm just making sure that that's
You'd say,
correct. That's correct, because some things are kind of out of order. That's correct. All right, and lastly, so going back to what you were just speaking about, on page 92, you have the monitor and monitor support, and then on page 93, you have the monitor cost again. Is that correct?
So on page 92,
that's the
92 is the,
overview.
92 is the general
breakdown.
account it's coming out of. If you look at 93, you're gonna see at the very bottom on far right-hand side, the 1331. That's where 300,000 of that amount of money from this page 92 is coming from. So then if you keep going and you go to the next page, 0332, there's nothing coming out of that one. You go to the next page, 0333, or 1333, there's nothing out of that one. You go to the next one, it's 1334, there's 55,000 coming up. But it's only counted by one time.
Right.
But it should go down to where it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman?
I got a handful of things here. I just wanted to note, not only is there a $170,000 retainer, there's also a $100,000 litigation charge, so we're already at 270,000.
88.
Page 88 has 170,000 for Lewis Rice and Associates. Page 98 has $100,000 cost incurred as a result of lawsuits. There's 270,000 already for legal services in this
Plus the retainer.
group.
So I believe that is for actual losses, am I correct, Chris?
He draws down the retainer. He's not working for free. He just takes it out of the retainer.
But we can pull up. There's certain things that are not part of the meter or loss with mitigation. It was right, can't represent that. That's the other law.
So if we have one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like other law.
The point I was trying to make was, we're already at 270,000 for legal services we could possibly do in-house. That's the point I'm trying to make. And once you guys dig in, you'll be able to see more of that. This also could be settlements and things like that. I understand that. But also let's make a point too. Retainers are prepaid legal services. That's what a retainer is. It's not it's not like a la carte where we get this city attorney package for 170. If he's here every night and he goes over 170,000 in billables, we're paying more.
Yeah, everything we did.
Yeah. Another question I had was, can someone just describe for me what municipal code codification is?
And so while we have it, per the consent decree and per best practices, the city has not recodified its ordinances in a number of years. And so per the consent decree, one of the things we needed to do was update our ordinances. One of the easiest ways to do that was to have it recodified. Now, what that process does is, the company that does it, they take our ordinances and they compare it to state statutes and best practices, other ordinances, other codes, other cities and so forth, and they recatalog it for us. So we have to actually go out, bid that process. It's very strenuous. It takes about 18 months to 2 years. What they do is they take our code book and they go section by section, review every section. And that's what that is. That's what that's for.
And that's when you see the line item under the municipal code on Muni Code for the codification changes. It's listed every certain amount of years, you'll see where you can look up differences in the municipal codes. So this would
what
add a
you're-
line.
What you're looking at, the changes, the fees for the changes and so forth is updates. So, we're on a twice a year update because we don't adopt as many ordinances, right? So every so many months, we send our ordinances in, they add them to our code book, catalog them, put them where they need to go, so that way they're online. And then because we also host it online, we're charged the online hosting fee. So, but the municipal code codification, the $50,000, that is to redo our book, to bring our book up to,
And that's a one time, that's this year, and then it might not happen for a couple more years or something.
right. The last time we did it was 99, I think. And so that's been way too long. And so we haven't done it. It's something we've been trying to do for the last couple of years, but you have to have full staff to do it because like I said, you go section by section and you do a deep dive. You look at what our ordinances are, where they need to be. We've talked about looking at, liquor licenses. We talked about looking at a lot of different things. You can change all of those things within that process. And then they also, like I said, pull down state statutes. State statutes have changed a number of times since the last time we've done that. And just to make sure that there are no conflicts, they look at also our charter just to see, because we have a lot of conflicting information in there, and they pull it all together.
Okay. My next question was, since you guys were able to pull up earlier year to date, in account number 02192 85, have we actually spent money on UMB analysis charges this year? Zero 2192. My question is, I don't care what the number actually is, but can the city manager write a letter to UMB, say we're considering moving our funds from UMB because we're being charged $24,000 a year to have $20 million at your institution? Is that a possibility?
It's a charge that's extremely high.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should be, sometimes you just ask the question and they go, yeah, we'll take care of that. Sorry about that. Okay. And my last question was on the memberships. Do we get value out of these $18,300 in memberships, or are any of those not quite necessary? 76.
Just for that period. Municipal county, St. Louis Municipal County fee. Want to belong to that?
I'm just curious, like, other than driving a tour bus here and taking pictures, what does the National League of Cities do for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're still new at this. I mean, next year, if we don't see a value, we won't bring it. But if I don't know what the value is, I can't tell you.
Is there a possibility between now and July 1st to see if other staff knows if there's value or possibly or no?
Yeah, the municipal league is good. The National League of City, we had this conversation before. We stay with them.
We stay with them, first of all, there's education processes, there's a voice. National League of Cities gives all of us a voice so that when there is an issue, they do pull those issues, they pull the cities across the nation together to have a voice in Washington on some major issues.
Exactly.
Like the Wayfair bill, when it went to Missouri, they helped pull. They didn't do a lot. Municipal League did more there. But the other thing I would say to you, Mike, is, they have grant programs, they have technology, they have innovation programs, they have education programs. And I think we leave this here, but I think we do it under the same pretense that you two have just said, Mike, you and Chief Hampton. Do it for a year, let these two gentlemen figure out what it does for them, because we've actually, in the time frame that Ella and I have been on this council, some years we cut it, some years we put it back, then we cut it, then we put it back. And we always tend to put it back because we realize that we're missing some of the benefits of it. And there are some grants in there. I've sent you some of the information on grants, and they're good grants and they're easier to get than some of the HUD grants.
And they lobby for us in Washington DC on behalf of the cities. Just like the Missouri Municipal League lobby for the cities in Jeff City, the National League does that also.
Yes.
I would just love, you know, I know we've got a lot of memberships and classes and yada, yada, yada. I think it would be wonderful if to justify these things, which we've been doing for many years, if one person on staff could say, here is a particular thing that was better than it would have been if we hadn't paid that $3,000. For $3,000, there should be one person out of the 150 people that work for the city that say, you know what? In my job, here's what this membership did to make life better for the people of Ferguson. That's all I would ask.
If you could say to any of your departments, like maybe one department a month, have them just look at the emails, like let's say Parks and Rec did it for a month. What did Parks and Rec get out of it in that month, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That's the kind of things I want that, you know, that's a tangible thing that we can say, yeah, we were able to gain knowledge necessary to get that money because of that membership. That justifies that expense to me, not just, oh, well, you know, they have some good classes and we met some people there or whatever. That was good.
It's
That's what
good,
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Okay. Councilman Palmer.
Like you said, it's a perfect example. Like I can give you a very small, scale version. I'm a member of the Missouri Farm Bureau. You know why? I get 10% off at John Deere dealerships. Cost me about $85 a month to be a member. I probably save $800 by buying parts and things like that for my mowers. That's the kind of reason we should be memberships for things like, you know, if they're lobbying, we need to know how that lobbying affected us financially. You know, if they're lobbying on a national scale, what's our $3,000 going to do when everybody around us is paying the $3,000 too? You know, it's just, like I said, I'm glad that Dave brought that up because it shows that the municipal league brings value to him when it comes to the grant opportunities he's used for the last 10 years. But other ones, you just start to wonder, is it just like meetings and like North County Inc., you know, is that just a couple lunches and dinners we're buying tables for in addition to the membership? You know, we're probably spending $10,000 with North County Inc. You know, has it really brought real value to our community? Because we could go, you know, pave one lane for 500 feet with that money, you know, which would have more value than 6 people getting lunch or brunch. So that's all I had to say.
Well, the National League of Cities did lobby for all the cities during the opioid crisis and had a settlement. I don't want to say the rest. Okay?
Would we be excluded from the settlement because we weren't members of the National League of Cities?
No.
The paperwork came to Ferguson to get a part of the settlement. That's all I can tell you. And this happened not on his watch. Okay?
So,
Dave, were you referring to the St. Louis County Municipal or the Missouri Municipal?
Lewis County
St. Louis
is the
County.
Missouri.
But there's two fees.
St. Louis County is more than. Very municipal, currently, I think, around the state. We're not, there are a lot of that.
I did that. Yeah, the Missouri one is very tough.
I mean, if you think about the HCC settlement, think about the charter settlement, you know, those were beneficial to us as well, because we were able to, they were able to represent the city of Ferguson.
So we missed.
So it would be not.
In a class action lawsuit, the defendant who has settled is required to notify all egregious parties with, no matter if you're a membership of a status group of a group or not. Like, I get class action lawsuit letters all the time about confidential medical records being given out. They're required, when you have a General Motors vehicle with an 8-speed transmission that's defective, you don't have to be a member of GM to get that notification. They are required to search DMV records and send you that. So you have to fill in the form out to participate in that recall. So I don't think being a member of a group is a condition of getting settlement money. You know, they might be more of, you know, they might keep you up to speed on it, but eventually you're going to find out about it because the lawyers want to make darn sure that everybody who's a part of the class is represented.
They're required.
Jump in, but I'll leave it alone. Go
So,
ahead.
you know, as far as these memberships go, you know, I think again, we do one more year, and I simply say that because I think that each city manager we've ever had felt a certain value for these different things. Like, some city managers thought National League of Cities was great, some thought they weren't. I say, let's leave them in there, let these two determine that, because you guys are gonna come back and tell us what you think is worth the money and what isn't. I would also say that, you know, I'm on the fence with North County Inc., but I think North County is trying to become North County version of MML. So I think that one's a growing. And then the Northwest Chamber of Commerce and the Greater North County Chamber of Commerce, you know, because the city of Ferguson's a member, we can go. Any of us can go. We can all go to those meetings once a month. You can get a free lunch and you get all kinds of free goodies, and you can do anything. Department heads can go. Just go. You represent Ferguson.
You told me I go too much.
No, I may have said that a long time ago.
I go to all of it. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a
I
lot.
just have one last question, Mayor, I'm sorry, from that, citywide, the last page,
Number?
I'm getting to it,
Oh,
page 99. It's 10,000,
It's miscellaneous.
right, for $10,000?
I want a miscellaneous for 10,000.
Right?
I mean, is that correct?
It's correct. I mean, there's so much that comes up. You have to have something there.
Okay. Like, can we
It's-
just get an example, just so we know, I don't know. What do you think?
David, are you putting your hand up?
I wasn't, but I do have a question / comment. So if I can go next, that would be great. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Can we come to him when you?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm on miscellaneous. Give some examples of miscellaneous for 10 grand.
We spent 8,983.
We need.
Is it my turn?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, I'll let you know, okay, Councilman?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious because there was nothing there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Well, I think Linda and Mike are partially right. I'm siding more with Mike. You know, I want to cut unnecessary spending if possible. And you know, give back to streets and speed bumps. But on the same token, I think Linda has some good expertise. Because the city managers knew. How does he know if it's beneficial or not if he doesn't go to it? And I also think some of the certifications for Octavia, I think we should allow her to do that because she has a lot on her plate. But at the same time, I'm taking more of the conservative approach. Um, you know, like Mike said, what does this really do for us? But we don't have historical data because Chief Hampton is new. But you know, going forward, you know, it's cut as much as we can. But if it's a necessary piece, you know, I think we should go for it, but also be budget conscious all the way through this budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilwoman Linda.
All right, so then I'm done with this section personally, but, so I was, no, I just said, I won't have any more questions in this section when I'm done with this question that I'm gonna ask. So
What page?
we're looking at page 92, and I jokingly said, cut the monitor. But that being said, on a much more serious note, Chris, when I went to the consent hearing, last year, and I spoke to the judge, and I said that I felt that, one, the first year that we did not get our services from the original monitor,
Clark.
we needed to be reimbursed for that, and we were not. And that
Nobody
was
wanted to sue but you and me.
right, but that was 500,000, because that was the first year. Then we've been budgeting 300,000. And when I told the judge, we did not get anything that we had been originally promised. The services didn't happen. None of that stuff happened. We didn't even get $100,000 worth of work out of them for the first 4 years, easy. She came to the podium very defensive, and she said, we haven't charged them $300,000 a year. We've been doing a lot less than that. So my question is she right? Or are we right? Because we budget 300,000 every year. Are we spending the full 300,000 on her? Okay. So is there any way to budget what we truly spend on her? We did.
So, like, technically, I think she might, I can run the numbers really quickly, but like, town hall.
Awesome. Brett?
But these town halls, that's a great point. You know, let's say the town hall is 20,000. That is not my responsibility or our city's responsibility to get people there. That's what they were hired to do. They were hired to get the marketing out there. They were hired to do the mailings. They were hired to do the advertising. They should be getting butts in those chairs. And they should, why are we paying $20,000 for a town hall that's on Zoom or 4 people show up to?
She's yelling around you, not at you.
That's not our fault.
No, it's not. I'm saying,
No, we're,
but we're paying for it.
They have been funds, like, but I mean, maybe they have like during COVID, so a lot of the problems, all their problems, some for audit, stuff, so the cost went down a lot. Coming in every couple of months, the audit, so those fees have gone down, but this year they picked up, they have experts that are.
that's exactly it. Yeah.
So they're finally doing their job. They're finally coming to town. They're finally
I
showing
think
up
some of
once
this
in a while.
also is, we are doing a lot better of our job too,
Yeah,
and getting
we are.
things done.
But-
So we are getting things done.
I know you guys are. I have no problem with the city.
more we get
Don't
done,
you
the
use
more
my
work they
ruler
have.
on me. But
I picked up a ruler. You know how they do your class.
The more
Okay.
work we get done, the more work they got.
Well, I
And
get
that's
that, but
more of an expense.
see,
Okay,
and to me,
And
that's
that's why
just
we
a-
want to cover, that's
that's a-
why we want to cover. 'Cause
I
we do want to
know.
get finished.
I know we want to get finished with that. I'm just, and Heather knows where I'm coming from. We have spent so many years being charged for things we didn't get. and Now we're finally getting them and we're having to continue to pay.
Well, you gotta pay.
uh, Palmer,
I just want to say, just because we spent a lot of money doesn't mean we've reached compliance. So just because we spent a lot of money doesn't mean we've reached compliance. You know, like
we have not.
that's what I feel like you're trying to say. I'm tired of paying the money. Well, we haven't done the work. We cannot go to the judge and say we've reached substantial completion. We cannot say that right now, can we, Mr.
I
Crable?
think we can say that in courts, but we cannot probably say that anywhere else.
Anyway, my point was, there's been this rumor. There's been a rumor about a sidebar agreement that caps consent decree monitor costs. Is this thing real?
Cap to it, yes.
What is that number?
Is it?
5 total.
Have we spent that? Are you monitoring when we reach that point? Right. So the hope is that we won't even reach the 1.5 by the time we've reached the monitoring period, right? There's a period of time where we have to be in compliance, right? 2 years. And the judge has to then sign off and say, we do believe you've been in compliance for 2 years.
Yeah, because at that point, we're going to be doing our audits and sending them to the monitor at that point, and they're going to be the.
Yes.
Mhm.
And same with like the, not, sorry, but the CRP employee support audit, we put everything digital. So they're not traveling in, they have to do the audit on their own, but we're not coming in, but the CRP, all like personnel files. we don't
Yeah,
have that
no, I know.
digital, But we're trying to come up with secure ways, maybe so they don't have to come in, but the monitor isn't gonna come in necessarily with the CRP audit, but the subject matter expert who's least local or more local, like somewhere in the very so we're trying to be more cost effective.
Yeah, and we have to be careful with the
Not our
CRP.
work
with the-
anymore
the-
too.
Yeah.
I personally think it should be here and only housed here. I don't think it should be digital because then it can go anywhere.
Okay, Councilman Williams, you had something to share, to say?
No, no, I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman
It's okay.
Robinette and Councilman Palmer.
So the $300,000 a year, I mean, we know we paid way more than that the first year. I think Linda went through that. Like the one, let's say it's 1.5. I thought it was like
It's around-
1.3 or
It's
something.
1.3.
That does not include any of Lewis and Rice above and beyond the retainer as well. Yeah. So I like, it may not be 1.3 for just the monitor costs, but I feel like we're paying everybody. Okay.
But the other thing is, we've had to hire people because of this and that's not included. And I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, so all things consent decree related on a annual basis might realistically be $750,000. I mean, we're paying you, we're paying the training coordinator, we're paying all these contractors we just hired. It's a significant amount of money, but that sidebar agreement is specifically geared towards monitor costs only. So, we don't have a lot of pushback until we reach that number. And at that point, I'm sure the judge is probably going to say, well, that was a discretionary number. We assumed you'd be in compliance by then. You guys goofed around for 6 years, so on and so forth. My last question would be, once we reach this compliance period, assuming we do, were we anticipating the monitor costs to increase at that point because we're under stricter scrutiny, or is it going to be the same, or what's the anticipation for that? Dig in. And the judge is the person who determines if we've reached compliance, and the judge is the person that determines if we've been compliant for 2 years.
Well, doesn't the monitor also have a big say in that?
Louisiana, the judge says, you're not compliant with everything. Our judge seems to be more willing to drop like 4% of the compliant. Start reviewing this, we'll monitor it. It's still on the stove, but it's on the back. Everything else.
It's not at that substantial compliance yet because they haven't finally said that, but we're getting to that point to where we can be. So with these self audits and getting the correct audits and getting everything that we're where we need to be, so we can't be.
So some judges will allow you to have concurrent groups that, so one's in completion and then it could fall off after 18 months. Another one hasn't reached it yet, but other ones say it's got to be, you have to have completely compliant and you got to start once that moment hits and keep all 10 departments in compliance. Right. So my last question would be, has any city ever reached compliance for 2 years and got out of a consent decree? When did they sign it? What year did they sign it? Thank you.
Seattle was, when we signed ours in 2015, I think Seattle was 2019.
We was 216,
216.
2016.
I think they were 2019.
Okay, I'll double check.
So is there any more in citywide?
I'm sorry, I had went to the restroom, excuse myself. Just what was the question? I came in on total monitor cost spent since 2016, 900K, and the cap is 1 million. That's what I'm asking. Can
I
someone
don't, I
repeat
didn't
what was
hear what
said?
you're asking.
What
If
was
for
the
some
question
reason it
asked?
might-
What was the question asked that got you all into this conversation? When I came back to my seat, I heard total monitor cost spent since 2016 into the present.
There's a cap of 1.3 or 1.5, correct,
Mhm.
Chris? $1 million. We're not at that portion yet. Chris says we may be closer to the 800 to 900,000.
Spent.
We're gonna get you the exact figures,
Okay.
and that will be during a consent decree update.
Thank you.
Actually,
So-
it was 2012.
Citywide done? You guys got
I
more?
think so. Can I make a suggestion, city manager?
Oh.
Okay, my suggestion is, Chris, you are IT, is that not correct? Dave is going to do IT. Can we move to HR and have our new person
No.
come and go while we sit here to midnight?
Sure.
Somebody's saying, oh,
what?
it's not.
I gotta be back
o'clock."
here at 7 o'clock, so it's just to stay and do it all.
Just a little FYI as we move along, they hit major complaints on January 10th, 2018. So 6
And
years. They
So we're
are in
gonna-
a 2-year sustainable period.
43.
Okay. Oh,
So for HR, we'll go to page 43. And I'd like Kelly just to go through her stuff, please. With her being the.
We're not gonna ask you any question till we get finished, okay?
The biggest change in the
44.
budget is
Or 43.
an HR assistant to the department. You will also see letters of support, and that is really in an effort to make sure all of the paperwork is always done, everything is correct, all employee files are correct, but also we are investing in doing employee training, managers, evaluation, making sure it's a better working environment for the employees. That is the biggest line item change. I heard Councilwoman and a few others, I know the conferences and memberships. Not. So we can put those pages and take them off. The only thing I really, is like I said, the employee, the additional employee.
you also want to keep page 48 because I'm good with that. I think it's important.
Yeah, that I was saying the conferences, so that needs to be as part of the business. I have attended them, they are extremely valuable in my perspective, but if I want to go, then I can invest.
So we can take them off. So your conferences, you're not talking about page 49, that says training and education.
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
No.
So you're talking about page 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we compromised on some other ones. If you had to compromise on any of these, would there be one that stands out?
SHRM is for your SHRM, correct? And then help you get your certifications.
Yeah, but she's brought up multiple times, can I do my job without getting those credits? I can, so I don't really wanna have a.
What about your?
Let me ask you this. What are you gonna have to do to go get those credits then? Are you gonna be scrambling in your last year?
I can also be an HR professional without doing them. So like I said, I don't,
But if you are SHRM qualified, I don't want you to drop that. That's not our goal, to let you lose.
Right,
That's what I,
those
yeah.
Qualifications.
right.
That's not our goal.
We
And-
tighten
and
the
we're not that
budget, but
tight.
We don't want to tight it that way.
Do you lose any kind of certification if you don't go attend that? That's my question.
I'm required to do continuing education, yes, to stay certified, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Councilman Paul.
What she's getting at is just a point of clarification. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Missouri. Every 2 years, I have to do continuing education every 2 years, no matter what. I can do that at the conference. It's more expensive that way, but there's also other things you're doing there. I can also do it online for $79. So there's exactly. So what you're getting at is that a lot of times the conferences can provide some allure because you're essentially killing two birds with one stone, because you're going to a conference to get awareness of the industry trends. You're also satisfying continuing education requirements at the same time.
Have staff provide service for the employees. I can take that with me where if I end up not being here, those credits, I can take them anywhere, so.
Councilman Castle.
I just want to say I appreciate this lady.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say. What she just said there was honest, straight up, and let's stop arguing with her about it. I appreciate that. I will remember that.
Okay. Oh, Mike, yes.
Were you still going to present more, or was I able to ask a question about a specific B2? Whoever had the current year budget pulled up, can you tell me how much we've spent in 02029, page 46. Correct.
Reimbursement of employees, for tuition.
There are some people though that, so the reimbursement, there's, you have to go through your department head and then you have to either complete the course. So some courses are gonna be. Some courses maybe.
Is the employee manual still as such where the course has to be previously approved by the department head, and then they have to get a C or better in the course to be eligible for reimbursement? And there's also a cap on that per employee, correct? Have- Correct. Anybody in this room who's been here long enough know if we've ever spent more than $10,000 on this?
This is not for employee, this is for the whole, every.
I understand that.
No, I think we spent $10,000 on some medics. They were able to get their certification. Chris, did you get some?
No, I just looked at one person did. Great, I think now, one of the part- one or two months, all of- Yeah, we've had to fill the paperwork out already, so I know there's at least 4 people that are in the process of starting their classes for next fiscal year, and then we have to reimburse when that classes are taught.
Can I ask that too, please? That's one thing I feel like from a employee retention, when we don't retain employees, that costs us money also. Making sure more people know that we have this benefit and pushing people to go to school, even if we have more than $5,000 in the last 5 years. One of my goals is to make sure that people know we have this, so we do get closer to spending that amount, because turnover costs more than what people think. So
Right.
that might be- There are situations on, that you have to stay after we reimburse you, so we kind of do get our money for. Yeah.
I appreciate the goal to use all the money. I agree with you. What I'm getting at is if we've only spent $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a year, we should probably monitor that and not keep putting 25,000 in, because this has been in like this since I've been on council. And it's obviously underutilized.
So I'm gonna go back to the conferences.
It's half the cost.
50, you're shaking your head, but the reason I want to bring this up is because if you're gonna hire assistant, like you have Octavia, you have a deputy and you needed her to get some training. You two are new at this, you needed to get some training. If you want to get an assistant, don't you think we need to leave at least the Missouri Employee Conference in there for maybe an assistant?
I thought we weren't,
Yeah, and that's.
I brought it up again.
No.
I just thought we were-
we weren't touching them.
I thought you said we were.
She
No.
said, get rid of them all.
Well, and then we just talked through it.
All right, well, if we're not touching it, I'm done then. I don't-
Okay.
Not get rid of any of
Okay.
them.
Okay. Anything else for HR? Anything else for HR? If not, city manager?
Okay, you can go, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'm not gonna, I have no comments on
All right,
anything
next
else.
is IT.
IT,
Thank you, Kelly.
Dave. The last one, Linda.
IT and finance.
What's the number? Okey dokey.
Yes.
You want to burn out one first?
All right, as we're going through this. Biggest changes, basically license and service fees. Professional services went up a little bit, everything else is pretty flat across the board.
Right, Kelly, tell your face, we can find
So, on the license and services, though, that's the big jump. Let's touch that, please.
Touch the license. Oh, license service fees, is Microsoft 365 licenses, we're migrating to that. We also have to have different, software for our scan virus filters and our message archive, all that.
I'm just curious, what kind of Microsoft 365 license costs $78,000?
Paper,
Right, no, I know. How many users do we have? All what?
all the bells and whistles.
How many years?
And one before.
There's a song, G.
100, 150, I think.
So long. You gotta remember, so a good example. Parks Department. I have to have a license for every single computer front desk, I have to have, well, full-time staff, so any computer that's running Microsoft.
And they are
Fire
all
department, same way.
antivirus, because you can't put one
Fire
virus.
department, the same way on that.
Mhm. Anything else for IT? Okay,
We'll go to finance.
5 includes
City manager?
telephony.
We'll go to finance,
Not
which
even-
is
It includes a bunch of stuff like
2017.
quarters of it.
Salespeople.
Auditing. Well. Well. But.
You have professional services. Forecast is 183,000.
That's correct.
But then you budget 1,000?
So. Yeah, so. Strict professional services. With auditing. CLA, everything, product and balance, auditing, and I know that some auditing. But we have, as well as.
Yep, we're coming out of the hole. Everybody knows we're coming out of the hole. We've been digging ourselves out of the hole for quite a while. So we have to have some consulting. Obviously, everybody knows my finance director is leaving. We're right now looking for a finance director. We have to have somebody in that seat until we get somebody there. Professional services cost a lot of money. Just Lexi alone and Diane Jones cost us a lot of money. CLA is costing us a lot of money. CLA is offering to get us caught completely up. And they're looking at now potentially looking at having a different audit firm come in, and then my audit costs will come down, but my professional services will come along. But I'll be completely caught up. And that's where we need to be.
And we'd like to say thank you for Diane for coming out of retirement.
Just, I agree, but it does cost us.
I know.
Right, and that institutional knowledge,
Yeah.
is something that you can't replace, and I hate to say it, but I feel like we let some people go a little bit too quickly on that portion, and then we were scrambling because we didn't have that institutional knowledge, and then right now, one of the big things was in the finance department, nobody is cross-trained either, so that is another thing that we're looking at when we're readdressing this whole financial department. Yes, sir.
I'll keep this short. There's a bunch of little nonsense in here. Please look through it. Deposit tickets. Like, I'm not going to sit here and waste more time on $90 for deposit tickets, but obviously no one went through this. 129. There's $300 for dog tags. We collect $16 for dog fees, right? I just asked somebody to look through this and kind of clean it up a little bit.
Councilwoman?
So I was just gonna ask David, in all of our other departments, there's communication line, but there's not one in here. Is, they don't have cell phones or? Yep. Okay, I just noticed and I was wondering. Okay.
Councilman?
On page 123, we have $45,000 for Paylocity. ADP, from what I can find, is from $3 to $5 per employee per payroll. 5 times 26 times 150 is under $20,000. So I don't know if we're getting additional services from Paylocity or if we just need to shop around, but
We are gonna be going out for RFP. What our goal is, obviously, this switch that would happen under the last finance director was probably not the best switch we ever did in our lives.
okay.
And so I believe this
Yes,
we're
yeah.
over 200 employees now that you're dealing with. And then we have been talking back to Paycom as well. They're very interested in coming back. ADP, we've heard a lot about ADP. We've had them in here. If you talk to a lot of people, that's why we want to go out for our RFP, is because we need to bring them all in. But our goal is not to make that change in the middle of the year like we did last time. We want to bring it to where it's on,
January 1.
yeah, January 1, but we want it up and operating before January 1, right? Correct.
Sure.
So we
Right.
get all of our information over, which some of that did not happen. And
Yeah, I
so
know.
we're still paying for some of those gremlins and animals today.
Our goal is to have RFP out.
Great.
Software companies out, at least by fourth quarter of the year. We're running the tandem or start migrating information over. That's our plan.
So in the past 2 years, I think we've given out 7 or 8 1099s to our retirees.
I know.
Which is ridiculous. If it happens again this year, I'm dead. Because that's how bad it is. And it's not gonna happen. I mean, even our own employees, we did not get the W-2s out correctly in enough time. That is unacceptable, and that's where we gotta make the changes where it's positive.
Well, and I appreciate you doing an RFP because you talk to one organization, ADP is great. You talk to 4, they aren't. And and if you look on the LinkedIn website, they're always hiring because something doesn't stick there.
So when we talked to Paycom, one of the big things was they got away from their 2019 pre-COVID era of doing business, and then they basically took everybody, and nobody was anybody's central lead person. So what happened with Paycom? We lost our main person, and that's what started the downfall. The Paycom, and that's why Evan and them, I shouldn't name names, but that's where we really went wrong, just going to Paylocity, right? Because in reality, we have that same problem today. We don't have one person. We had great people enrolling us, but after that, it's just whoever picks up the phone. And so I get different answers every day, just like the trash. I can call and get the senior discount today, tomorrow I'm not getting it. you know, so we have to figure this out. And so doing an RFP is the way.
Good.
Any other questions?
And trust me when I say, we don't add fluff. We're not adding fluff. I hope you guys aren't thinking that the staff is trying to add fluff, because that's one thing that I've known the city to be very frugal. And I like to be frugal because it ultimately comes back to me and Dave now, so.
Yeah.
And I think we're also trying to get it back to the 2021 kind of look. You know, when Lexi was here, when Jeff were here, we had some really tight budgets. We had it, all of our figures up.
Clean.
We tried to do that this year,
You did.
but we still got room to go. But the thing is, coming out of the mess that we're in, we're doing a lot. There's some things that we can improve on, and next year's budget.
Councilman, Palmer, Councilwoman Robinette, and Councilwoman Noah.
Well, I just wanted to say too, I know this meeting's gone on for a while and people are frustrated and it seems like, I'm not trying to nickel and dime somebody, but at the same time I am. 1,000 times 1,000 is $1 million. And you can get a lot done with $1 million. You can pave 3 or 4 miles of road, and I've told council at this dais, we have about $20 million in underfunded road work. And when you see that we put 300,000 in for street replacement, that's an embarrassment. I mean, that's 1 mile. We have 47 or 48 miles of road in this town, all graded 5 or worse, and it's just going to continue to get worse to the point where, I think we can fix it without having to pass some massive bond issue, but I would hate to see us have to pass a $40 million bond issue to fix our roads or go out to the residents and say, yeah, you got a special assessment this year of $500 because you got 100 foot of frontage. I mean, people will be protesting, they'll leave, it's just, we really got to try to focus on needs and wants, and I'm not trying to keep people's, conferences from going and doing things like that, but just, it's always important to understand that also, if we get all of our roads fixed and get the parks looking right and get everything good, we can do better. We can pay employees better, which helps with retention. And we can, there's this delicate balance of providing for the residents and providing for the employees. And you have to be able to balance that delicately. And I don't want to be mad that we're up here, picking at tuition reimbursement. I understand she's new, but it's been underutilized for 10 years. That's why I'm asking about it. I hope she uses every bit of it and comes back to us and says, I need 25,000 more. We got people that want to be city managers around here and go to HVAC school and all this stuff, but that hasn't happened in 10 years or 20, and at one point when I worked for the city, I went to get tuition reimbursement and they said, we don't have money for that. That's a guideline. They said the employee handbook was a guideline for the city, but rules for me. So it's just, you got to be careful, everybody bears the brunt of the complaints. It comes from us and goes straight to you, so it's just, I understand the meetings are going on for a while, but we really got to get more to project-based budgeting, not add 3% to what we did last year. Like I said, I don't want to talk for an hour about $90 for deposit slips, but it shouldn't even be in there. It's just, we shouldn't be paying for those. I hope not. So.
And I'm just piggybacking. I can't even say the word now. I'm brain dead. I think this is the right time with, we have so many new people in place. We have you're a new city manager. We have a new assistant city manager. We have a lot of new department heads, about to have some more new ones, that kind of thing. This is a time to disrupt the budget that we've always seen before and, actually take a fresh look at it instead of rubber stamping. I know not that we've rubber stamped before, but I think there are a lot of things that just get copied over. And so that was my point coming out strong, saying no conferences, because I want people to start thinking differently, because it's exactly what you said. If we are comfortable with this and we feel like our residents are getting what they need from the city, then we are more than happy, I'll speak for myself. I am more than happy to advocate for better benefits for employees and better salaries for employees and all of that. So I'm trying to do both staff and our residents a service by taking a critical look at this. This is nothing, absolutely nothing personal. This is a good budget that was presented, especially in light of everything you had to do. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Who's next? Oh, okay.
Okay. You know what? I will agree with both Councilman Palmer and Councilwoman Robinette. I 100% agree. And then there's less stress on staff once we get the streets taken care of and other things. But my question is regarding page 125, the $75,000 cost for the annual audit. Now is, just can you,
Actually gonna be probably a little bit less, but I'm gonna.
Have we
It-
changed auditors?
Yes.
I thought so.
This will be
Okay.
our second year, but however,
25,
that
okay.
company, most likely I'll be bringing to you, will be cleaning us up. Okay, and then they will have an audit
I
firm
thought you were gonna
that
say
they will work
out.
with, like a Daniel Henry or something like
Right,
that.
yeah,
That will, so the audit will probably maybe cost us $30,000, but what it may cost me from CLA to help me get cleaned up is $90,000. So in reality, I'm still paying that same amount.
okay,
But but we're gonna be caught up, and that's huge.
We're gonna
That's
be
where we need to be.
efficient.
We haven't had a good finance person since Lexi left.
okay.
I mean, she knew her numbers. And then when Lexi left, it just fell apart, right? And we're putting it together. I mean, and that's just not the finance department. That's a lot of places. That's the vehicles. That's why we've invested heavy in vehicles. That's, our infrastructure. We got to get back at doing it. We know we've neglected a lot. But we have to get back to it.
Right. So just,
Under Jeff for X amount of time
Mm.
to gain his knowledge, so.
And it's just that we've had so many different department heads in so many different places that not all of them really had the best interest of potentially that department. And they saw what they needed to done. And then we didn't really look at the future of where that department needed to be with equipment, with like the shooting range. We could potentially be making money out of our shooting range if we get it cleaned up, fixed up, right? We charge outside agencies to come in and use our shooting range for their, was it post certification? And then we charge a range master hour. We could actually be making money off of our shooting range. But we gotta get it cleaned up. It is a mess. Those type of things are what we're trying to clean up as well.
I'm not done. So the rest of the question is, next to the cost, annual audit, 19,900 FY 2019. So
What page
those,
are you on?
back to page 125, I'm still on page 125. Next to the auditing and the cost. So those are the years that are going to be audited and those, or can you, what is that? That's the cost for those years. Okay,
That's perfect.
okay, okay, okay. Okay, thank you for that clarification. And my last question is, page 127, the credit card fees. Why would we have credit card fees?
We are working on these, correct? So, well, first off, courts won't be having that anymore, correct? Because they're going to show me courts. So there should be no more, but there's no more cost to that. And then, but
Okay, eats up the fee. So we can get our money. Okay, all right, thank you.
but we are looking at bettering that system, correct? Good, like the parks.
So I just wanted to close out basically by saying that, I know I could tell, John, you're a little frustrated a bit at some points tonight and everything else, but it shows in how you guys respond to our questions so clearly, how much work you've put into this. You looking at Chris, you pulling it up on the computer, you knowing this, him knowing that, you know, yeah, you've made a list of some things you're gonna get back to us on, but it's probably a list about this big, because I've been making a list too. The last couple of years, this has been a nightmare. We didn't know, these people didn't know what they were telling us. And, you know, like the question that Naquita asked, and the other guy said, well, it's because they weren't separated into the proper categories. That's why the EBST was in with this one and that one. So, you know, I think that you guys need to know that even though we are going to do what we're doing and ask the questions and try to find areas that we can cut a little bit more, there's no malice in it. And what you guys have done is incredible. And I always look at this as there's a certain level of negotiation that goes on. You know, you've got to put in for your department all the things you want, and then there's a little bit of negotiation there. So everybody knows they're not going to walk away with 100% of what they want, but I think the cooperation and the guiding light is creating a safer city for the citizens so that they want to be here, spend their tax dollars here, and then we have a bigger budget.
Councilman Palmer.
And I just wanted to close out too, you know, today was a lot of the, I'd say back of house, if you want to use like a restaurant, this is more like the back of house stuff. It's harder to adjust, harder to manipulate a lot of these costs. They're mostly personnel related. But going forward, as the counselors look through their budgets, I encourage you to look at, you know, when you get into streets and parks and code enforcement, nuisance abatement, don't look at these as expenses. These are investments in your community. When you tear down houses, it's not just a $10,000 cost. That improves the real property tax rate in your neighborhood, and that is an investment that comes back. You know, it's quantifiable. You can see your property tax rate increase and your receipts increase. That in turn allows you to have less complaints about problems and deliver more services to the community. So we have to look at things like that. The most troubling thing I saw in this entire budget was when you look at revenues, our utility tax receipts have outpaced our real property tax receipts. That's a problem. You know, that just shows you how invaluable our real estate is within our community. And that's why our tax rate is so high. We have to adjust our tax rate based on the assessed valuation of our community. It has not outpaced inflation in probably 40 years. So if you invest in those things that people see and remove blight and fix issues that make people not want to live here, it encourages people to come here, spend more money here, and be a better quality resident while making our job easier to deliver those services. I mean, we spend half our time putting out fires, you know, like figuratively speaking, you know, it's one crisis to the next. We're not actually being proactive about anything. So going forward, when you get into parks and police and fire, those are investments within your community. So that's where it's needs versus wants, in my opinion. So we really got to, you know, I encourage you as you dig through, just think about that when you're looking at it. Don't just think, well, this is a waste of money. This is just one cost we're going to pay. You know, it might, you know, tearing that one house down might keep those neighbors there for 10 more years. You know, instead of that house becoming a dilapidated house that's fallen down that needs to be, you know, look at Dupree. There's 10 houses that need tore down on that street. That didn't happen overnight. That happened over decades. So it's good for us to really focus on removing those concerns because it makes our community grow and be better and able for us to deliver better services, keep employees happy, retain employees. It's a circle of life effect, you know, if we can take a more global approach to it.
Hey,
Yeah, I have one last thing. And what you will also see is we will have a large increase in health insurance costs. coming
I
our
saw
way
that.
As well, we're looking at almost 9%, close to 8.5, 9%. But I mean, there's some salvation with that as well. So we'll get into that later. But just know that that is also being taken with all this. And I guess we're done for the night from staff's point of view.
Okay, I will just say this before you, when we do get to the health insurance, if that is something that you want to do an RFP on, USI.
So with our health,
My husband runs all those programs for USI. He wouldn't be your salesman, but he
Yeah.
would be your account manager if you hired a company like USI. But I hear all those company names in my household daily. So there's quite a few good companies out there, and I know the ones that we've been using in the past, I don't know.
So we're with Slate, right? And pretty much if we move out of Slate, we lose money.
Right.
No, Slate.
Slate.
Oh,
Slate.
Bottom of the
So, I
barrel.
mean, every year you get money that you didn't spend, right? And so it comes back to your account. And so if we left, we'd lose quite a bit of money.
okay.
And don't think we did, we looked at it. We looked at it, trust me, because we were this close and because of everything that's gone on here, right? And then we found out reality. And so then now that
Locked
we're
in.
back to where we are.
Right.
Well,
All righty, you have one more.
Just gonna ask if I can make a motion to dismiss.
You could make the motion.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, community. This is the Ferguson City Council working together. I would like to make a motion to dismiss this meeting, this budget meeting.
Is there a second?
No, I want to stay for the rest of the night. Come on, let's stay.
As well as to.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Have a good night. It was good. It was good. Home and exercise.
I'll be at the bar.
I only have one.
Oh, no.